Hello YouTube. Hey, this next clip is a short extract from my larger Adobe XD Essentials course. If you want to go further with XD, check out the link in the description. But for now, let's get on to the video. Hi everyone, my name is Dan Scott and I am an Adobe Certified Instructor, and together you and me are going to learn how to become a UX designer using the software Adobe XD. Now this course is aimed at people completely new to the Adobe XD software. Also, it's aimed at people who are completely new to UX design in general. We'll start the course right at the beginning and work our way through step by step. First, we'll describe the brief and how we're going to work with a UX persona. Then you'll learn how to create simple wireframes. From there, we'll learn how to implement colors and images properly in your designs. You'll learn the do's and don'ts of choosing fonts for both web and mobile applications. You'll learn how to create your own icons, buttons, and all sorts of UI components. I'll share with you all the secret tricks inside of Adobe XD that'll help speed up your workflow. Also make our lives easier by using free UI kits and pre-existing templates in XD. We'll get off the computer and I'll show you how to test your designs actually on your phone. We'll build a simple style guide ready for client handoff. We'll have fun making these micro interactions, page transitions, and animations. And before the end of this course, we'll have a fully interactive prototype, all the way through to collaborating with other team members and exporting the right files ready for handoff to our developer or software engineer. Throughout the course as well, I'll cover some of the expectations of you as a new UX designer. Now I've got assignments throughout the course to help you kind of practice what we're learning as we work through, and also to build something unique for your portfolio. All right, it is time to go from Adobe XD 0 to UX Hero. Join me in class. Now, honest opinion. Are you thinking, oh, that's a cool light he's got there. How cool is that? Or, because it's all the way through the course, are you thinking, what's the lame pink light for? Hi everyone, welcome to the getting started video. First thing you need to do is to download the exercise files. There'll be a link on this screen here, so click download those before we move on. Also, I can talk really fast when I get excited, so there is a cog that way. There's a little gear icon down here. You can speed me up or slow me down. If I talk too fast, I talk too fast. Also make sure that you've installed Adobe XD. We're gonna be using the full version of it. There is like a free version called, they call it at the moment the starter plan. It's kind of new. It might go away. They might change the name of it, so you might have to figure that out. The only real the differences at the moment is that it's for personal use only, that free version called Starter Plan. And also there's some restrictions around how many people you can share the document with and collaborate with. But at the moment you can do this course 100% with it. They do change that all the time. So we are gonna focus on the main version. You might run into a couple little changes if you are using that starter version throughout the course, but at the moment, 100%, you can totally do it. Another thing to note is that Adobe XD is relatively new, so they're updating it a load. Every time I make a course, they go and change the name of something. Okay, if it's a fundamental change, I'll re-record one of the videos. If it's a slight tweak and it's kind of changed shape or moved a little bit, I'll make a note, either a little pop-up like this, bloop, that guy, okay, or check the comments underneath, okay? It might be something new and other students have figured it out, so just check underneath. I'll try and keep it up to date as much as I can, but there are little changes that they go and do all the time with Adobe XD. Lastly, Mac versus PC. Which do you need? It does not matter. You can do this entire course with PC or Mac. All the functions are the same. The UI is slightly different, but not a big change. I'm gonna be using a Mac in this course for no good reason other than it looks cool. I'm kind of sold on the looking like a designer. Look at the glasses, got the Mac, it's on the stand. Got the light, oh, the light's off. Look at this. Does absolutely nothing to the quality of your work, except my ambiance looks cool. But Mac and PC, it does not matter. All right, let's get on to the next video. Hi everyone, let's talk certificates. So you can earn a certificate from this XD Essentials course, but you need to do the entire course. Okay, what you're watching now is like a smaller extract from the larger course. So if you want the certificate, you need to sign up for the full course. Okay, you might get to the end of this video and go, I want it, I want more, and I want a certificate. So you can check out the link in the description there, and you can continue on with this course, okay, if you're enjoying it. Also, to get the certificate, you need to have watched all the videos. Okay, you need to have submitted all the class projects. There's going to be a bunch of them here free to do as part of this video here on YouTube. So you can kind of start the course and finish it off if you want to later on. Also note that you can get the official Adobe, people ask me about this shirt all the time. You can get it only if you get the certificate. It's for the keen people that are dedicated enough to get to the end of the course. And if you do get the end of the course, you get the option of buying this one. Okay, so note that any profits from the shirts, okay, are given to kids at high schools. Basically, we're using it for hardware and software design related at schools that potentially couldn't afford it. Okay, so trying to bring design into high schools where potentially it might be overlooked. So that is true of this shirt. And if you say you don't want to go off and complete the certificate and get this special shirt, there is this core stuff here. I've got my arms out because I'm hoping there's a link on the screen. Okay, there is some core stuff and we'll switch to it here. Can you see this is the Bring Your Laptop swag? Okay, if you want a t-shirt, hoodie, sweatshirt, okay, the same thing applies. Any profits go to supporting materials at those schools. Okay, and it's available to anybody. So go check those out. If you've got any questions about certificates, go to this URL here, bringyourlaptop.com/certificates, and we can answer them more and better. But for now, let's continue on with the course. Hi everyone, let's talk about what Adobe XD is for, and can you just like export the code and have the app or the website directly from Adobe XD? It's a question I get asked a lot. No. Adobe XD is a design tool, and then once the design's kind of made, then you pass it on to the next kind of phase, which is to get it coded, either in Xcode or PHP or whatever language is being used to develop that app, okay, or that website. And you might be thinking, well, why don't you just do it straight in code? And that is a way of doing it, but it's kind of like building a house and designing it at the same time. It's very hard to make changes. Like as a designer, I can move things around, change the colors, add an extra page, and it takes minutes, okay? Or hours, depending on how much changes needs to happen. But to do those exact same changes once it's being coded is a very big deal and requires more talent than I have in coding. I can do some basic kind of front end coding, but nothing that will build a complex site. So often I'll work as a team. So I do the design side and the testing and the UI and UX, which we'll discuss in the next video, and then hand it off to a developer, okay, or an engineer or a coder or whatever you want to call them, and they'll build it based on that design. And you'll be like, well, it seems like two people doing one job, and that is one way to look at it. But what's really efficient is my skills as a designer is to take the brief, understand the brief, come up with some kind of hypothesizes. It's not a word. Hypotheses. Not a good day. You know the word I mean. Come up with some things you want that you think will address this problem, and then test them. And that's the really nice thing about Adobe XD. You can get it in the hands of if you gave me an idea right now, it said, I've got a new idea for a sign up page for our website. Can you create it? I could take that brief and I could do it very quickly. Let's say it could be done in a few hours. I could mock up this different kind of sign up page on your website, get it to potential customers and get them to test it. It doesn't really work. Okay, it's not fully integrated, but for the person testing it, it's good enough to get feedback, okay? And I can either watch them doing it or record the screen while them doing it and find any bugs and be like, oh, I thought they would go there, they're not. So all of that process is done through Adobe XD, and you can kind of see how quickly it can be done, okay? And I can make 20 different versions before I'm like, haha, success, they know how to sign up, or that's the best way of signing up, okay? And then I can hand it to the developer with one thing and say, go make this for me, okay? And I hand it off to my developer, they go and build it. That is an efficient workflow. To be coding it and doing the same thing would take a long time, and the skills I don't have to do a complex kind of sign up process, I just can't do it. So we need a couple of people involved in the process. So that is what Adobe XD do. It's about prototyping quickly, and you can work with the client. They can sign up, they can say, I love this site, okay? And then you hand it off to get to, so you gotta be clear with your client that this process, even though they can see it on, you'll share them a link, that it's not actually the finished product, okay? It is something that needs to go off and get developed next. Now you might be like, oh, I don't have a developer or an engineer or a coder. You can do these things yourself. So there are like, it depends on the job and who the client is and the size of the company. So there are, you'll design in Adobe XD, get the design right. And then if you're not going out to a developer coder and you want to do it all yourself, there are no code options, things like Webflow and Elementor and WordPress, and I've got courses on a lot of the things that I'm talking about, especially those either out now or coming out very soon, so that you can, as a designer, do the complete package, deliver a website completely. But there will be other times where you're working with a development inside of a larger company or with a developer building some custom things, and your role as in XD will be handing that off to the developer, and the things you can do to help them along. Okay, you can give them a lot of the style code, which we'll do in this course. Okay, so it's you give them all the images and the elements that they need to get going. Okay, you can code it yourself. Okay, if you are designing a simple website, I've got like a class on Dreamweaver and VS Code. Those are the VS Code one's probably the best one to be able to learn how to do HTML and CSS yourself and kind of build your own things. Okay, or go for the no code options. There is a lot. Squarespace, Wix, Webflow, Elementor are the two that I'm focusing on. WordPress. There's lots of no code designing options. So you still design it in XD because it's quick and great, and then build it out afterwards once the client has approval, which takes a little bit longer. So it does not export code to developer, but it will give them elements that they need or that you'll use if you are hand coding it yourself. That is this video over. Hello, in this video we are going to talk about UI versus UX. If you already are very clear about those terms, you can keep moving along to the next video. For those who need a little bit of just an explanation to make it clear, let's go through that now. We'll start with UI, okay, part of the UI UX. There's a term, those two terms get thrown around quite a lot together. They're similar but different, and Adobe XD kind of, it's all mixed in there. So UI design or user experience design is a term kind of used when you are designing the look and feel of a website or an app or whatever it happens to be. So I used to work as a UI designer for a long time, okay? And before UX became popular and I got interested in it, I was purely just a UI designer. And what that looked like was that I'd get a brief from the clients, I'd research what they needed. There was a lot of my own experience coming in there of like what should go where and what their clients would love. And the client would sign it off and would get it made by a developer, or I'd make it myself. Okay, and that was kind of me as a UI designer. Where UX is different is that it's the same, often same kind of tools. Okay, I'd use my experience to do what I think, but I'd be a little bit more, there's a lot more humility involved with what I think would be a good solution for the client. Okay, so I need to kind of think, this is my hypothesis, this is my what I think the client's gonna love, okay, or at least their customers are gonna love, and then putting it to the test. Okay, and that's kind of where UX, we start moving into UX. Okay, it's a big field. I'm gonna try and cover as much of UX design as I can in this course. Okay, but it's saying, this is what I think, finding the right users to test, okay, my hypothesis or my design, okay, and then, figuring out what worked, what didn't work, okay, and then iterating on that, okay, and not just once, not just twice, as many times as it needs. So let's say it's a sign-up process for a website that you've been asked to create, or a whole website, or an app for something completely new. the client wants something, you have an idea about how to deliver that, and it's putting those ideas to the test is where we start becoming a UX designer, okay? Working with clients, testing, figuring out what works, and then iterating. And that's why Adobe XD is really good. It is very fast. You can iterate really quickly. You can go back out to those same people to test like on the fly, or make some changes, send it to them the next day, get it tested again, until you get to a point where you are accomplishing your task that you set. It might be the fastest time to sign up, or at least the most amount of people signed up, or whatever your goal is, you can test with the client to work through that process. And that's kind of the difference between UI and UX. UI, user interface design, is how it looks, okay? But then adding that level of user experience design is where you actually go in and test that. There's various different ways of testing, but that's the simplistic version. Kind of how it looks for UI, and user experience is more to do with testing and iteration. Does that make sense? We'll explain it a bit more as we go through the course, but that is UI, UX, they're over there. I'm not sure why, but that's them. All right, let's get on to the next video. Hi everyone, in this video I want to show you where we are going. This is the stuff we're going to make in this course. So we will start with making a wireframe. Okay, just a simple wireframe to get the basics of XD under our belt. We'll do some, there'll be some transitions, and we'll do some testing on phones and build some basic stuff and some simple animation just to get our feet wet in Adobe XD. Then we'll start building out our mood board, kind of how to present it to clients, okay, and then start on our high fidelity version. All these terms I'll explain later in the course. Okay, but let's have a look at these. Got multiple options for the cover. Let's have a look. There's animations. You can see what we make. So let's have a look. It's got a nav. Okay, we've got buy now buttons. We've got functioning things, switches that turn on and off for no reason down here, but they look cool. Okay, all with some animation as well. Okay, so that's what we're building in this course. I want to give you a peek early on so we know where we're going. You're like, the toggle switch looked cool. What was the van doing? You too can build animations like mine with trucks doing little wheelies. Anyway, let's jump in and get started. Hi everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the brief, the persona, and the task flow for this course, and what those terms mean. Okay, the brief, nice and simple, Scott's Green Tea. They are a small local business in Limerick, Ireland, where I live, and they deliver green tea to your door. So that's the short brief. Let's talk about persona, which is kind of like this next chunk. What is persona? So persona is a word used to describe the target customer, okay? So in our case, let's read it together. Our ideal customer is a woman named Zoe. Zoe is in her 40s, she is married, she's a doctoral degree, Dr. Zoe, and works in a busy team, okay? She lives in Limerick, and she's somewhat familiar with your product, but enjoys spending time considering the next purchase. Why is this useful? First of all, it is when we're gonna do our UX testing, okay? There's no point getting me to do the testing because I'm Dan. I live in Limerick, but I don't have a doctoral degree, okay? And I'm not a 4-year-old woman who's married, okay? So it allows us to find the right people to be testing this, which is super important. What's also important is, as a designer, what I've tended to do, like especially at the beginning of my career, I designed for myself, trying to imagine myself liking green tea, okay? I live in Limerick, which is good. Okay, but I'm not from Limerick, I'm from New Zealand. So like there was this kind of disconnect where I design for what I think would be great, okay? And then I'd be battling with what the client thinks they should want, okay? And the client's not right, I'm not right, Zoe's right, okay? It's about putting a persona out there so that me and the client can talk about Zoe in it becomes a little, less passionate, I don't like green, or I don't like purple. Well, what does Zoe like? Okay, you can have discussion, kind of third-party discussions about this other person, and it becomes a little less, I don't know, you're a little less hurt as a designer because you are talking about this other person, which is handy. but also it allows you to make decisions around the types of font, the types of colors, the way that the website or app is constructed, because she's somewhat familiar with the product, but really enjoys spending time considering the next purchase. So we're going to have to make sure that there is a lot of detail about this product. It's not just a quick, the idea here is not to be the quickest ordering app in all the world, because that's not what our persona wants. Our persona enjoys spending time considering it. So there's going to have to be maybe some potential kind of this versus that, some sort of comparisons. Those sorts of things, have really framed up what I'm going to be designing here, and it's only a couple of sentences. Otherwise, I end up designing either for the client, what they want, and they're not the end user. They're the customer for you, but not the customer for this app or website you're making. Or I design for myself, or you end up, the worst kind of place is designing for everybody. Every sort of need group out there, and designing for everybody is designing for nobody. You end up with this kind of like website or an app that doesn't really do anything for anybody, let alone one group. So that's what a persona, it gives you empathy for the client, for things that green tea, I don't even like green tea. Okay, so persona lets me understand what about Zoe might be interested in green tea and allow me to kind of develop a design and look and feel and flow based on her wants and needs. That's the short version of persona. You can go into a lot more depth, so that's some advice. I'm going to give you lots of my advice throughout this course is to, if there are things you're like, he kind of understood that, he kind of explained that okay, is make a little note in your notebook and say, I'm going to research that after this video or after this course. And personas is one of those things where there's a lot more than what I have experience in and am able to communicate in one of these short videos. So go learn more about personas, but that's the short version. Next up, let's talk about task flows. So this is the task flow we've been asked to design. So as a designer, you've been asked to, you're given the company, who it's for. This is what we need to, produce or mock up in Adobe XD is we need a homepage kind of / marketing page. We need a product details page. Okay, about green tea, we need a checkout page and some sort of order confirmation. So this is the task flow. A task flow is, it's quite linear. It gives us, otherwise, if you don't have, agreed upon kind of thing you're designing for, either being handed to you from your, product manager or your boss or from the client, okay, you end up kind of creating way too much. You end up designing the terms and conditions page, which for what we need now and going out to testing to Zoe or Zoe type people is not useful, okay? It's useful at the end, but it's not useful in this kind of like getting this tested in the hands of clients. So we've got an agreed upon task flow, and this is it for this course. Now, task flow is a term, gets used for this kind of like linear step-by-step kind of approach. Let's look at another term, user flow. So task flow versus user flow. This is a really good article. Thank you, Erica Herrerano. Okay, check it out. There'll be a link on the screen popping up down in the bottom corner there. So while we're not developing a user flow in this particular course, it's interesting. Well, it's useful to know the difference between task flows and user flows. So this one's got a really good example of this task flow, finding a pancake recipe. So they go to the homepage, they search for pancakes. In the search results, they find something for a super banana pancake recipe page. Okay, that is a task flow, and we can design to that. But a user flow is the same kind of thing, same beginning, same end, but let's have a look at this particular here. So this is a user flow. So it has the same elements. You start at the homepage, they go to the search results, they find the super banana recipe, but that original task flow neglects all the other paths that the user might go to get to, let's say they need to get to the end here. Okay, can you see this kind of flow chart? It describes all sorts of, can I zoom it in? I can. So homepage, in our task flow, we assume they're going to use search results, okay? But you can see here, there's this decision. You can see the little icons here. So these are decision nodes. These are interactions with the websites, okay? And these are different pages they ended up. So homepage, did they actually use the search bar? You might find through testing that actually very few people actually use the search bar. Okay, so they end up down here. No, they use this kind of browse category. So you might end up spending a lot more of your time building out a very clear category browse option. Or alternatively, it might be the opposite. You might build this amazing, navigation drop-down extravaganza, okay, of a drop-down menu. Nobody uses it. Everyone uses search. Okay, or it's a mixture of both. And that's what these user flows are here for, to kind of find dead ends. Okay, you might be assuming this, but people are trying to find something else that's not there. And that's where something like this user flow can be good at the beginning. Okay, when you're scoping out a job, okay, you still get to the right place and you're not still designing the terms and conditions page, which probably not important for the app or website that you're doing at this stage. You might find it very important, but at this initial stage, it's a bigger job doing a user flow, okay, rather than just a task flow, but we're keeping this course concise, okay, and doing a small part of the flow. So task flow is quite linear, step by step, and a user flow is often non-linear, kind of a decision tree, and is a more complete testing, option for going out to user testing. More complex, simpler. It'll depend on the job you've been asked to do. And in our case, it's this job. We're going to design these 4 pages. I've kept this quite simple to make it easy for this course. You can get into a lot more detail with the brief especially, okay? You might get given jobs that have, no brief. Hey, I want a website, and that might be your brief, okay? You might get ones that are super detailed. It might come through a larger company where there has been a team of people, UX researchers. You might have, team leaders and product managers and VPs and everybody kind of working on a project, and you get handed quite a detailed project to do. For me, often I'm working with small products, small clients, and often I get the no brief option or very limited. And what you might have to start doing is, you can see how it's, are you seeing it in here that with a persona and a brief and a task flow, I know what I need to do now. A lot of the hard work is done, okay? Even though it's quite simple looking on the screen, it's very clear what the client's gonna get and what I need to deliver. If you don't and you're new to this, it's hard to do when you're new, but you need to think about pushing back to the client or your boss about like, okay, what is it? Who is the persona? What are what are the actual pages that I'm designing? Is it a user flow, task flow? What does it look like? And the other last thing that's kind of neglected out of here is things like brand values and mission statements. So we don't know much about Scott's Green Tea. We don't know, are they all about, efficiency? Are there robots serving them? Okay, or is it all about back to the farmer, and the farmer gets, the higher prices, but the farmer gets paid a fair wage? Like that sort of stuff is super important. Find out if you're working for a larger company, they're going to have a mission statement and a kind of a values guideline and lots of documentation to give you a feel of the business. For a smaller company, it's going to be a lot harder. It's probably going to just be a conversation with the owner, okay, about what they want to do, what they're trying to do, and getting a little bit of understanding that way. For me now, as a more mature UX designer, old, okay, I'll push back on all these things because I know my life is really hard if I'm not really sure who I'm designing for. If I'm really clear who the target market is, who the persona is, and what I'm meant to be doing, I can knock this stuff out clearly. I can get into testing really quickly and deliver an awesome product. All my problems throughout my career, either as a graphic designer or a motion graphics artist or a photo retoucher or a web designer, all these things that I've done, most of the problems come from unclear expectations, either through a brief. And it's mainly because I'm scared. You get scared pushing back. You're like, hey, do this job. You're like, okay. You go off and then you realize you don't have enough information about it. So, as you get more experienced in UX design, you'd be like, there's a big hole in my understanding, and go back to the client early and quickly so that, it's not the day before it's meant to be delivered, but starting the conversations with these things like briefs, personas, and task flows. Okay, wow, that was a long one and a little bit long-winded. Start showing me, start clicking the buttons, Dan. Okay, we'll do that in, are we doing that next? I think we might be really soon at least. All right, next video. Hi everyone, it is class project time. Don't consider this homework. It's kind of like homework, but it is a way for you to follow along in this course and not just kind of like blindly following and watching videos, getting you to do stuff. And what I've done is I'm making sure that everyone's is a little bit unique. So in your exercise files, you will see, there's not much in there now because I'm kind of building the course, but there'll be something called class projects. Okay, open that up and it'll look something like this. Okay, so it'll tell you what you need to do for this particular class project. And this one's pretty easy. It's generating your own brief and persona. Okay, so I've made a website. Well, the Bring Your Laptop team have made a website for you. Okay, so it's called the randomprojectgenerator.com. Go there, okay, and generate your brief. So basically, once you're here, I want you to go to the one that says Adobe XD, okay? Enter your name, okay? Use your last name, your friend's name, your pet's name, something to give your business a unique name. So I'm gonna enter mine. So Scott is my last name, that's what I'm gonna use, okay? And then enter your location. So I'm living in Limerick, okay? And then we hit generate project. And that is the product, okay, that you're going to be selling. We're kind of in the food delivery theme. Okay, so in this case, it's Scott's cheese. You saw in the last video that I did, I've already done this. Okay, and I ended up with Scott's, what was it, green tea, that was it. Okay, so yours will be different, it'll be unique, okay, except the name and the place where the business is being held. It's in your area, so because you'll know what the area will support and will like. But over here, this will be all different. Now, if you're like, I am so not doing cheese, you can hit retry, but just once. Okay, you might decide, potato chips, that's the one I want. Okay, so no more, you're not allowed to go through and just keep hitting retry, okay, and finding one. Use the first or the second one. Do not hit it a third time, there'll be trouble. Okay, so once you've got your brief, okay, it is really handy, okay, when you get something that you're not sure about. If you've like, I've never eaten a potato chip in my life, that's a great product to work with, okay, because you're gonna have to really understand Sebastian and what he's like in his late 20s and kind of figure out what he likes as a freelancer. So once you've got your brief, either take a screenshot or download, click this download as a PNG, and that is what you're gonna work along with this course with. So we are going to build the same stuff, but what I don't want to do is have everyone looking the same as me with green tea. So we're going to all follow along and you're going to pick images and fonts and colors that are different from mine because I want you to build something great for your portfolio, okay, at the end of this. And yeah, that's just so that when you're submitting homework, we're not all doing the exact same thing. It's a bit of creativity there. Okay, so it says do that. It says enter your name and location, save the brief to your computer, and the deliverables. So there's going to be deliverables on all of these. And this one is just upload your JPEG or your PNG screenshot to the assignments or the projects or the comment section of this website. Okay, so that's all you have to do, nothing else. And I will see you in the next video. Get your brief, be excited by your cheese or whatever it might be. Okay, and we will see you in the next video. Hi everyone, in this video we're going to talk about lo-fi versus HiFi, or aka wireframes versus high fidelity or pretty versions. So a wireframe is where we're going to start in this course and where you should start as a designer. It could take me a few minutes to mock up this, okay, some simple boxes, and I could get it in the hands of somebody to test and iterate really quickly. The power of UX design, kind of an MVP, the minimum viable product, and get it out and get it tested before you spend ages doing all the stuff where you end up, I don't know, spending half a day kerning or leading or picking images. Okay, this won't give me a better kind of experience test. This version won't give me a better and quicker test result from my user, okay, than this will. This, super quick and easy, make adjustments while they're sitting there. It also takes out a lot of the, when you're doing your initial concepts, okay, handing something like this to the client, they can use it, they can test it, but they don't come back with strange things like, hey, that's the wrong font, or I don't know about that color, or because at the beginning of our kind of process, that's not our kind of goal, is to not pick the colors, is to make sure the functionality is right. Let's get the core right before we start spending time on leading and kerning. Colors they do not or do like. You can see I've even removed text. Okay, and this is my marketing message so that we're not diving into like, oh, we can't say that, or we like to call it something else. We are just getting the functionality of this job, which is a task flow. And the task flow is very simple. Okay, we're just doing these 4 things. Once we get the mechanics right, then we can spend time. Okay, it's still important, but it's not important at the beginning. So skip the wireframing chunk of the process at your peril. Now, that's the wireframe that I made. Okay, look, fancy rounded corners. So try and keep away. Boring font, boring colors. Okay, switch it to black and white, no rounded corners. This is not the only look. Let's have a look. There's like, it's up to you to figure out what the job requires. You know, is it going to be super simple? Or is it going to be a little bit more, advanced? It's still keeping out the design, but you can tell this one has spent a lot more time getting this thing look nice. Not all wireframes are created equal. I'm in for the get it done quickly and out, unless it's going in my portfolio. Then I'll make the wireframe look pretty. And by pretty, I mean something more like this, where there's a little bit more design gone into it, a lot more time with leading and kerning, but it's a portfolio piece. So just keep that in mind. All right, wireframes or low fidelity, high fidelity. And down here, this is my high fidelity or good looking version or HiFi version. And this is what we're making in the class. It's gonna be fun. All right. Yeah, here's a fun exercise. Anyway, that's it. Lo-fi, HiFi. Let's get on to the next video. Hi there. Hey, a little segue. I wanted to check on you, see how you're doing. You're looking good. Looks like you're doing XD okay. Okay, if you're enjoying the video, you've got this far, can't be too bad. Could you like the video on YouTube and subscribe to the channel? That'd be great too. If you are really enjoying this class and you're like, I want to go all the way, okay, you check out the card up here. Okay, there'll be a link to the full course and there'll be a link in the description as well. What you're seeing on your screen right now, this is all the things that we do in the full course. So if you're like, oh, I really want to be part of that, yeah, check out the link in the description. But for now, get back into that course, enjoy the rest of the free content, and yeah, I will see you later. I'll see you in the next video. Like 1 second. Hey everyone, in this video, we're gonna draw 4 white rectangles. It's going to be exciting. We're going to explore what artboards are. We'll talk about mobile, tablet, or desktop first design, and some basic navigation shortcuts to get you going. But yeah, let's go make some boxes. All right, to get started, open up Adobe XD and we're going to start with either a new file, which will give you just a generic starting file, or you can pick from one of the presets over here. I'll just show you. Click new file and it kind of defaults to whatever it thinks you want. And it's going to say, hey, you've got a page that is the kind of a website size. And you might be like, that's not what I want. File, close it. Okay, and what we're going to do is pick from the presets. Okay, so mobile stuff, web stuff, social media sizes. A lot of design is getting done in Adobe XD, okay, instead of maybe something like Illustrator, because people are getting used to it. It's quite quick. Often you have a lot of your colors and assets already in Adobe XD, so people are doing a lot of kind of like social media stuff, design work in XD. There's nothing wrong with that. And obviously you've got a custom size that you can type out. Now I'm going to start with mobile for this kind of wireframe, and in here, up to you. Like I'm going to start with iPhone 8, okay, this SE size, because it's just a really generic size at the moment. In the future, some of these kind of taller, thinner sizes, you know, you might be watching this and there might be an iPhone 50, okay? Just Google what is the most common phone size and start working with that. This one here is good for kind of, I don't know, Apple and Android sizes. So I'm going to start with iPhone 8. All right. Now, what we can do in here is we can click on the name along the top. Okay. And what will happen is, let's click off, click back on. Okay. Over here, can you see this adjust? It's contextually sensitive, which means it changes depending on what you have selected. So if you need to change the artboard, click on it. Okay. And you can say over here, actually, I need it to be this new size, which is 400 pixels across, a bit wider. I'm going to undo that. It's not what I want. Undo is edit, undo. I'm going to use Command Z on a Mac, Control Z on a PC for the rest of this course, but you probably know undo. The other thing you can do is you can draw your own custom size. Say you get in here and it's the wrong one. You can click on it. Okay, click on the name, hit delete on your keyboard, and you go to this kind of like generic white matrix no land thing. Okay, and you can go over here. This is your artboard tool. Your artboard tool is, click on it, and we get all those kind of defaults again over here. Okay, they're all kind of laid out this way. There's watches in there, social media, but let's say we want to go back to iPhone 8 SE. There we go. All right, so those are default ones. You can just drag them out. You might be designing something that needs to be dragged out. Okay, you can just click and drag these things out as you like. Click on the names along the top, and you can delete them. For some reason mine opens up not quite wide enough. Now, just a note about picking the size, pick generic or pick what your client has. You know, if your client's going to be testing this thing and he or she has got a specific phone size, you know, you can tell that they've got an iPhone 13, design that size because they're going to be able to easily kind of use it. And later on, when it goes to coding and your developer's building it, and plus with your help, with the responsive design, it'll actually adjust to different phone sizes. So you've got to pick one size to start with, and when it goes to development, it will adjust to different phone sizes. So what we want to do now is we want to rename it, okay? So what we can do is where it says iPhone 8 or whatever you've got along the top here, double click that, okay? And let's change this one, okay? And this is going to be my homepage / marketing page. Okay, so I'm going to enter on my keyboard so we can name our artboard. So artboards is just another word of saying our page. Now you can see them over here. If you can't, you might be on this thing or that thing or that thing. Okay, so we're going to be on this layer option over here, and it's showing my different artboards. Now we're going to create 4 pages. Another thing, well, before we move on, I want to kind of shuffle my page over. We're not going to get into too many shortcuts early on, but there are some essential ones. Holding down the spacebar key gives you this little hand, and then you click and hold and drag your mouse. So hold the spacebar down, click, hold, and drag. Because what I want to do is click on the top of this. I kind of click the whole artboard. I'm going to go on a Mac, Command C, Command V. Okay, copy and paste. On a PC, it's Control C, Control V. Okay, so double click it over here, and I'm going to fill out my different kind of task flow. So you can check the task flow. It's in our exercise files here. We're building this one: homepage, product details, checkout, and confirmation. So the next one is going to be called product details. Okay, copy paste. Well, if you click once with your artboard tool, it just throws it in where it felt like it. Okay, so I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard. Spacebar happens to the best of us. Okay, double click over here, and this one's called, I can't remember, checkout. And then the last one. You can, oh, do we get into too many shortcuts? We'll do one more little shortcut. Too early in the course, Dan, but hey. Okay, with your artboard tool selected, I can drag this around, okay, just like an object, like a square. Okay, so I'm gonna undo to move it back. I can hold down my Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and just drag out another version of it. You can see if I get close to it, there's some of the magic of XD. Look at this. You get it kind of close to here, it says, oh, would you like it to line up? Ooh, and would you like to be the same spacing? You're like, yes, same spacing. Okay, so I find it exciting. And our last one's called confirmation. Confirmation. Have I spelled that right? I haven't. Oh, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I can't spell. If you've done any of my other courses, you already know this, but it's confirmation. There you go. So we've got our 4 artboards. They don't quite fit in. My spacebar technique, remember, hold spacebar, click and drag. Zooming out, okay, is another shortcut. The last one, I promise. Hold down the Command key on a Mac, Control key on a PC, and hit minus on your keyboard to go out. And you can probably guess how to go in. It's plus. Okay, so hold down Command on a Mac, Control on a PC, and hit plus and minus. All right, so there's some artboards. Now we're gonna be focusing on mobile. There's no reason why you couldn't now grab your artboard tool and say, actually, I'm gonna go and figure out my tablet size. Okay, and I'm using iPro Pro. I'm gonna start doing this. Okay, and I'm gonna work on the iPad. Okay, you might decide, actually, I'm gonna move that down here. Remember, grab the name and drag it. Okay, spacebar for to kind of click and move the thing around. And I could do the same thing. I could copy and paste and build homepage, product details, checkout, confirmation, and start building the tablet and then the desktop version. Okay, we're not in this course. We will do a desktop version, and you will probably be expected to do a tablet and desktop version for your mockup, depending. If it's an app for a phone, then no, you don't need a desktop version. What we're doing here is a mobile website, not an app. So there's going to have to be a tablet and a desktop version because we want our clients to be able to order our cheese or, what am I doing? Green tea from either their computer or their phone or their tablet. But for now, let's just stick to mobile. Another thing we're going to talk about is something called, well, just briefly, we're using mobile first design. Okay, why we call it mobile first because we're going to design and put our effort into designing this mobile design first, and then later on adapt it for tablet and desktop. We'll make it good for those, but we're designing mobile first because we know that through user research, through a good guess, that most people are going to be ordering via their phone. So we're designing first for that. If you're designing a desktop app, and you know that people access your site or this product via desktop first, then do a desktop first design and be laying this out in a kind of desktop version. And when I say desktop, I mean these ones here, web desktop. And if you're unsure what to design for, it'd be really common to do this one here, 1366, but also Google. What is the most common desktop size at the moment? And Google will tell you. You can design for that. All right, last thing we're going to do is name it. Otherwise, we're going to have untitled. Man, you end up with a lot of untitles, don't worry. So we're going to name it by double clicking at the top here. Okay, we're going to give it a name. I'm going to call this one. Call it anything you like, but you really want, so not calling it checkout, calling it Scott for the client name. Okay, so Scott T is our client name. This is how I name it. You can name it anything you like, except you can't call it final. Final V1, V2, final V1, V2, complete. You've done it before. Give it something nice and, I don't know, iterative. Okay, so I'm calling it this. I'm calling this my checkout task flow, because that's what we've been asked to design, and it's going to be V1 or A1 or whatever you want to use. Okay, and when we make significant changes, we can change it to V2 and just keep updating it that way. Don't call it final. All right, let's hit save and we're away. All right, so that's going to be it. I'm not going to set proper homework. I just want you to draw your 4 pages. I'm not going to check it, but name it with your, the name that you've got from your the random project generator. Okay, and name it. And have your 4 pages here ready for the next video. Don't skip the homework. It's how you'll end up remembering this stuff for a longer time. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Hello, my friend. If you thought 4 white rectangles was exciting, you wait for 5 text bits. Okay, we're going to look at the basics of type. We are going to not get into the weeds, everything to do with type in this one video. We're going to get enough to get us going. A lot of stuff I'm not even going to explain because it's like how to put an underline. Click the underline button. Okay, but we'll give the kind of the strange things for Adobe XD, and also note that we will get into the weeds with when I say weeds, get into the details of type later on in the course. There's another video called font and text level 2 later in the course where we get into a bit more detail. I just want to get us going quickly, and yeah, let's get into the introduction to text in this video. Okay, the type tool, it's this one here. Looks like a capital T. You knew that. Shortcuts in this course, can you see if you hover above any of these tools? If you're using them quite often, you'll learn the shortcut. That T, can you see in the brackets there, is for the type tool. V is a really common one, gets you back up to the selection tool here, because select starts with V. Okay, but some of them are a little bit more. R for rectangle, and you know this is going to be circle. No, it'll be ellipse. E for ellipse. So T for the type tool. There's 2 ways of putting in text boxes. Click once and you'll get a box that goes on forever. Okay, if you go back to the type tool and click out and drag a box down here, if you click and drag the box, it's got what's called a fixed width. Okay, and it means that when I type, it'll break and move down to the next line. Good for paragraph text. Okay, lots of copy, and this is good for generic stuff, buttons and buttons. We do lots of buttons. You can switch them. You've got to select the box first. So grab your selection tool. Okay, click on the box once. Okay, and you can say actually you are now auto width. Okay, and now when I start typing in it, it'll go on forever. Okay, same with this one over here. Okay, select it with your selection tool. Click on this guy and say actually now you are fixed height, or auto height, sorry, and it means that it'll get to the end and then break over. Okay, so that's those 2. What we need now is we need a couple of things. I'm going to click on delete them. I'm going to grab my T for my type tool. I'm going to click once, and we're going to put in our kind of placeholder logo. So we've got Scott. Actually, I'm going to do capitals. Scott Green T. Okay, so type in your version, and what we're going to do is grab my section tool, move it up here. When you are designing, especially if the company's new, they might not have a logo. Just type it in, have just a text version. Don't be half trying to design it. at this stage. The other thing is if you do have the company already has a logo, just try and use a black and white version of it, okay, so that you're not introducing color at this stage. Wireframe's meant to be simple for testing, quick, no color. And speaking of that, you're not allowed to pick fonts either. No fonts. But I'm a designer, I want to do fonts. You get to do fonts later on when we do our kind of high fidelity version, which we'll talk about later on. But at this stage, you want to take any sort of design out of it. It's about functionality for testing. Okay, so even if you really like brush script, you're not allowed to use it here. You've got to pick something simple. In terms of simple, mine's defaulted to Helvetica New because I'm on a Mac. But something like, if you're unsure about like what's good looking generic, because Arial, I'm not even a fan of Helvetica. Don't tell anyone. I think I committed a designer sin, but Helvetica is boring. And Roboto, I know it's not that much less boring, okay, but it's one of those, it's just a really good font to use for wireframes or for anything, any sort of body copy. It's clear, it's very accessible, it is free. If you don't have it on your computer now, you can go download it. It's the new Arial, but it's, I don't know, I like it better. Other good ones are Open Sans is a really common kind of generic font. Open Sans, Source Sans Pro, all of these can be found online. I'm pretty sure they're all free. Okay, you'll be able to download them from somewhere. And they're just a good way to, I don't know, take what you don't want to do when you start doing this, testing your wireframes, which you'll do really quickly at the beginning, is you don't want, especially when you go to a client and they're like, oh, it's not the corporate font, or hey, we can't use that, or if you've added character to the fonts at this stage, you can end up in conversations with the client about what kinds of fonts, this is not the right kind of one, and it'll take away your time for being fast. So keep it simple. Pick just one font. You have one font limit. You can play around with the weight, okay, and that is to do with down here. So semi-bold, bold, black. Okay, that's why I like Roboto. Roboto, let's have a look. Roboto is really handy for, it's got lots of these, and you can actually get more to Roboto as well. Open Sans is a pretty decent one as well. Okay, in terms of italics and thins and thicks and mediums. I'm saying don't pick fonts and hear me kind of gooing after different fonts and their different weights. Anyway, so put your title at the top. I'm going to pick Roboto for my one. Okay, you pick whatever you like. So I clicked once, okay, and I've got this one. I'm going to add another bit of text here, and I'm going to make it a fixed width because this is going to be my marketing message, and I want it to kind of sit within this space. Okay, so I'm going to type in, this is my marketing. It remembers the last font you were using, so I'm going to have to change this. Okay, this is my marketing message. I'm going to select all the text, okay, drag a box around it. I'm going to go Roboto, and I'm going to not go bold. I'm going to go to medium. Okay, and because it's, I keep saying fixed width, it's called auto height. Okay, there's this other one called fixed size. I don't know, Adobe likes to call it different in different programs. So the second one in, the auto height, okay, I'm not going to cover all things properly, like font sizes here. You know how to pick font size. I'm going to pick 48. That's too big. Pick 32. I'm going to center it. Okay, work your way through it. The only things the little icons kind of give it away. This one here is the space between letters. Okay, so if I open it up to 20, you can see the space between letters open up. I'm going to undo. Okay, this is your leading, okay, or this line spacing. Okay, at the moment, I'm going to go to open it up a little bit. Okay, and this is the space after paragraphs. And we'll talk about this sort of stuff later on, and you can click these. They're not terribly hard. Underline. Now, the one thing you are picking fonts here is that you're not meant to be styling them, okay, even though I've gone and done a little bit, is you're picking sizes, okay, because, this is my main marketing message. This one, I maybe want to be a bit smaller, okay, I'm going to go down to 16, I'm going to make it bold, and I'm kind of making decisions now about how big this should be, and this has come down to legibility, how easy is it to read, maybe accessibility issues. I'm going to say accessibility throughout this course. We don't cover it in a lot of detail, but it's kind of making sure that people can actually read it. Are the buttons big enough? Okay, in this case, is this marketing message big enough? Totally is. But is it big enough in terms of getting my marketing message across? Now, you can spend a lot of time designing this, okay? But what happens when I zoom out, if you're designing this way, you're going to end up picking font sizes at this size. Now, what you might think is I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go 100%. Perfect. This will depend on where it's being displayed. So if I pick up my phone here, you can't see me, but I've got my phone, I'm picking it up, putting it in front of my monitor now, and it's about twice too big, twice the size too big. So I know if I keep holding my phone up next to it, and I go Command minus or Control minus, that's about right. Okay, so when I'm making design choices now about, is this big enough? I'm at least, you know, if I know I'm at 75%, I know I'm kind of close. Yours will be different. Yours might be at 100%. You might have to be a lot smaller. It depends on your settings on your monitor. Okay. What's really true though, is you should be testing on the device. We're going to do that in this class as well. Not right now, but I'll show you how you can, publish this to your phone. So you can actually make really good choices. We're just going to get it in the ballpark here. All right, a couple other things to get us going is if I copy and paste text, so I select it with my selection tool on a Mac, Command C, Command V, okay, or Control C, Control V on a PC. You'll notice that it didn't really do anything. It did. There's two versions of it. There's Scott Green Tea there, there's Scott Green Tea there, but they're on top of each other, just so you know. It doesn't kind of put them off to the side. Okay, so this one here is going to be called my product shot. Okay, I'm going to have a picture up here. So we're using text as a placeholder for the moment. Moving this down. You'll notice as well, this is centered. Okay, because we did that earlier, left align centered. You'll notice that in XD, whenever I drag anything around using my selection tool, can you see? Oh, look at that. It really wants to be in the middle of the page or double middle of page. Super handy. Okay, so I'm going to put that there. Now I want two text down here for buttons. Okay, so instead of copy and pasting, that same trick that we did for, remember, duplicating this. Who remembers what it was? That's right, you hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC when you're dragging something. Okay, and you can duplicate it at the same instance as moving it. So this one's going to be my buy now. Whoop, buy now. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this out. And this one's going to be my learn more button. Whoa, having a bad day. Cool, all right. That'll be it for now. Other interesting things that are quite specific for Adobe XD. I'm going to zoom in. Let's look at, say, green tea up here. You've got this little white dot down the bottom. For a fixed, I keep calling it fixed width, it's called auto height, isn't it? Auto height box, remember the one that kind of like breaks onto the next line? Okay, you don't have the same controls, kind of do. This has 4 white dots, so you can kind of expand it out. This one, because we clicked once and is called a auto width, yeah, auto width, has 1 dot, and you're like, oh, what does that do? It does a couple of things. It's kind of a strange guy. Zoom in. Is I can drag it down, okay, and up, and it resizes it. Interesting, instead of using this. So you might just go, loop. There you go. Okay, the other thing it does is instead of clicking on it, okay, watch this. If I just move over there, so not there, there, can you see the little icon change? Too far, right, the magic spot. You can actually rotate it. You can do all of those things over here. You can just say, I need it to be 45 degrees and type it in, okay, or you can just be hovering, not there, but there. I don't know, that's what it does. You can do it kind of down here. Select on this one. If I drag the bottom, it doesn't do the size, but it does do the rotation. Here we go. All right, I promise not to get in the weeds in this one, and I got a little bit in the weeds, but here you go. All right, that's it for text. Let's get into the next video. Hello, welcome back. You're still here, which is a good sign. This video, we're going to look at drawing rectangles. We're going to add rounded corners to the edges. We'll draw ellipses, and a few of the shortcuts kind of will be thrown in here for navigation as well. So don't skip along if you think you can draw a rectangle with the best of them. There's a few kind of like navigation shortcuts that I'll show you throughout. All right, let's jump in. Okay, to draw a rectangle, not surprisingly, you hit the rectangle tool. Okay, and then you just drag it out. Hey, okay, so I'm gonna, often when you're doing a wireframe, you won't actually put the images in. I'm just putting a placeholder for the images. In this case, it's gonna be a box. Okay, and it's gonna bring us to layer ordering because I've drawn a box, and by default, all the boxes have a white fill and this kind of like gray border. Okay, so you can turn the fill off to see the text, but what we wanna learn is how to play with a layer order. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my selection tool. Okay, and I want to move it behind the text. And there's about 1,000 ways of doing it. So I'm going to show you the common ways, and just know that throughout this course, I'm going to give you either the most appropriate at your level or the most common way. there's going to be 4 or 5 other ways of doing things in these bits of software. So if you do discover some other way and you're like, oh, why haven't I, why didn't Dan show me that way? My bad. I'm going to try and give you the best way and or the way that's appropriate at this level of the course, and we'll get more advanced as we go. So I want to move this to the back. Probably the easiest way is to right click it and say send to back, okay, and it's behind this text. I'm going to show you a couple of other ways, just get us working and doing stuff in XD. So I'm going to undo. So what you can do as well is there's the long format way. Up here I can go to object, I think it is, and then go to arrange and send it back. Okay, so it's the same thing, does the same job. The other way, as I'm going to undo, is over here in my layers panel. You can see there's my home page. Okay, that's the page that I'm working on here. You can see there's a rectangle and he's on top of my product shot. So if I click, hold and drag him underneath my product shot, you ready? Look at that, it's underneath. Kind of like Photoshop works. And the way that I always use is a shortcut way. So I'm going to undo that, is I select it, and you can kind of tell the shortcuts, right? If I right click, you see send it back, there he is there. So anything you're using quite often, you'll get to know. Like, I never use the hide enough to know the shortcut is. I need to right click it, but I use send it back all the time and send to front. Okay, so in my case, this hieroglyphics here is shift, command, and the square bracket. And that's the kind of square bracket down by your P key. On a PC, it'll be control shift square bracket. Okay, so that's what I do. I end up just, let's undo that. Yeah, command shift square bracket. Forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. I'm using that square key. All right, so lots of ways of doing the same thing. So let's get that in there. Let's get this. You can align things officially, but can you see it really just wants to be in the middle? It's really handy that way, but you can align them properly. So you select both of them and say over here, align center, align this way. It doesn't work if it's already there. So you can see I can align these guys to the center. So up to you, but you will find that actually it's pretty sweet in Adobe XD. It just wants to find the middle of everything without asking. Okay, next up, rounded corners. Click on, I'm using my selection tool, clicking on this box. You might have to zoom in because we won't be able to see these. If you zoom far out, those little circles get, oh, they're still there. Okay, they get harder if it's a really small object on the page. So I'm zooming in enough to see these things. These, if I click, hold, and drag them, are the rounded corners. Look at that. Okay, so you can decide. You can manually type them in. So I'm going to undo that. You can over here. Where is it? See what I was doing there? I was dragging this and seeing where it was in the properties panel. There it is. So if you need it to be exact, you're using 15, you can just type it in, hit enter, and it will be 15 for all of them. Okay, it's good when you want to match them across different documents. Another thing you can do, just because it's interesting, if you hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and click and drag one of them, you can click and drag one of them at a time. Okay, I can decide that this one's this one. Look at this. Okay, so I'm going to reset them all back to 0. You can kind of see here, it's broken it down into different, so that one's set to 29. Watch that, well, let's move it over here so we can edit it nicely. Watch this, if I drag this, can you see, oh, doing all of them. Hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, can you see that's just affecting this? So it kind of goes around top left, top right, bottom right, bottom left, I can do that. Okay, so yeah, so that's that. And to reset it, I'm gonna go back to all and say you're all at 0. Thank you very much. Do I want rounded corners at this stage? I do, want a little bit, just a little hint there. All right, I want 2 of these for the buttons. So instead of like drawing out a rectangle and then typing in 5 afterwards, I'm going to use that, hold down the Option key, Alt key on a PC, just so that we're consistent. You see, even when I resize it, using my selection tool and just dragging one of the corners, it still sticks to that 5. It doesn't kind of like scale with it. Okay, so I'm doing a lot of my like sweet duplication skills. Now in this case, are they in the center? Probably. Let's check. Yep. Oh, maybe not. Yep, there you go. All right, so rounded corners. Let's look at one last one, the circle, which is not called in a circle. It's called an ellipse. I'm going to select all of this using my selection tool and just move you down so I got a bit of space. And I'm going to grab the ellipse tool, okay, E for ellipse. And it's going to bring me a point where if I click and drag, you get an oval or an ellipse. Okay, if you want it to be a perfect circle, you hold down the Shift key while you're dragging. Okay, and it will lock in the height and width. That's the same for the rectangle tool. R for the rectangle tool, hold down Shift, perfect square. Okay, so I've got a perfect circle. I need it to move there. I want it to kind of be about there. I want a little plus symbol in it. We're not going to draw a plus. We're going to just type a plus. So type tool plus, that's clearly my equal sign. And I'm going to pick an appropriate weight for it. There we go. And size-wise, maybe you can drag the bottom of it. It seems weird, but you actually do use that little plus thing quite, you know, that little white dot, quite a lot. So that, I think that's a good weight. There we go there. Oh, another good point is because it is quite snap happy, you're like, stop snapping to everything. You can get it close and then use it with your selection tool. Just use your arrow keys. So down on your keyboard, you've got the up, down, left, right, just up, down, left, right it and get it close enough. All right, I'm going to zoom all the way out, and I kind of wasn't going to do shortcuts. We're just going to introduce them. I'll do them loads so you remember them. If you're like, man, that guy's freaking me out with the shortcuts, don't worry. I'll just keep saying them loads. They'll eventually get in your brain. Really handy one to go all the way out. There's a couple of shortcuts. So Command 1, okay, goes to 100%. Command 2, I never use, goes to 200%. Command 0, okay, holding down Command on a Mac, it's Control on a PC, and hit 0 shows you everything, which is probably the most handy one. So Command 1 and Command 0 I use a load because it kind of gets you at a kind of a normal, if you're in really tight in here, okay, working on something, you can go Command 0 or Command 1 to kind of come out to 100%, or Command 0 to see everything. Even if you've got like one big crazy, you know, like we're gonna have some relative organization in this course. It would be very common though, as a designer, to have all sorts of stuff going on all over the place, right? I'm copying and pasting these. You end up with junk everywhere. So if I'm over here, zoom in the wrong bit. Okay, if I hit Command or Control on a PC, 0, can you see it shows me everything, and it's just super handy. Goodbye all those artboards, and Command 0 again. There you go. That's a handy one. A little bit more navigation for you. All right, that's it. We've drawn a couple of rectangles. We draw a circle. All right, excitement over. Let's get on to the next video. Hi everyone, in this video we're going to look at using color in Adobe XD. We're going to end up with just simple green boxes, but we'll talk a bit about what's going on in here and kind of different things for Adobe XD in terms of color. Plus we'll start with one of the shortcuts that I totally forgot to show you in the last video. So we'll start with that and then we'll dive into color. All right, we're going to start with nothing about color. We're going to do a shortcut that I kind of forgot earlier on. We remember if you hold down Command on a Mac, Control on a PC and Tab 1, kind of goes to 100%. You can see up here. And remember that same key in 2 to 100%. And who remembers how we see the whole thing? It's a test. That's right. Hold the Command key down on a Mac, Control key on a PC, and hit 0. Shows me everything. There was one thing that I didn't share with you that I use loads. Okay, I'm going to pretend like I left it till now, but I just forgot. So I'm going to click on the name of a document, then hit Command or Control 3. And that kind of puts that one thing that you've got selected into full view. Okay, so that's just another little shortcut I'm going to end up using, and you're going to go, how do you do that? There you go, Command or Control 3. All right, so we're in. Let's add some color. So I'm going to click on this. By default, everything is white with a gray border. So what I'm going to do is, well, first of all, I'm going to convince you not to use any colors, but you can see from the intro that we ended up using it. Okay, so when you are dealing with wireframes, you want to keep things like color out of the conversation as well. Otherwise, like fonts, if you pick a range of colors, you can end up with discussions not about like the functionality of our task flow and how it works, but people picking things like, hey, that's the wrong kind of green for our company, or I don't like red. Is red really communicating right? Like that's a discussion for later on after the wireframes. Keep the wireframes super simple. So I've got it selected. Over here, I'm going to click on this. Now, you've probably used one of these before. If not, you've got your hue slider along here to get your kind of color in the range. Let's say you want blue. You kind of get this little dot in the bluish range. Okay, then you click over here. You can click once, or often I just click and drag it around. Okay, and you can kind of see it adjusting over here. Okay, so this gets your hue correct. And then within this hue, you can pick things like really saturated, super duper blue, okay, or desaturated, which is all the way over here, white, okay, and kind of variations of light, dark, saturated, not saturated. Okay, so work within here, get something for your particular one. My advice is, you should use gray. Grays are all the way over here. You can be on any hue slider. It doesn't matter if you've dragged it all the way, and you don't have to get it perfect, right? You can't just like getting it there actually has a little bit of the green in it. Okay, but if you drag it past and kind of like I'm holding my mouse key down and just kind of like slams into the side there, then I let go, then it's completely desaturated and it's a gray that I can use along here. If you want full white, click, hold and drag it into the top left until you go past where you need to be. Okay, and that's full white, and same with black down there. Actually, black has 2 spots. Okay, so pick a color, just one. Try not to use more than one. You know, use gray. Gray is the like official no color, but it'd be common to add just one color. It might be the brand color that you're working on, just one. Okay, or you know, I'm gonna pick a color. I'll pick orange. It's been way too long picking orange. There you go. That's the color I'm going to pick. That's the end. Don't spend ages picking colors. So we've got our color. The other thing is the transparency. This is it, how transparent it is, how see-throughness it is. Okay, and if you want to manually type it in, you can do it down the bottom here. Now, if you are not used to using hue, saturation, and brightness, that's this HSB, you could use the RGB. The actual color is the exact same. Okay, there's nothing different about it. It depends on the last thing you had going. You could use the hexadecimal number. Okay, so if you're a, I don't know, if you are a web developer or a web designer, you might know these colors and be able to work with these better. Or you might be copying and pasting them from a corporate kind of spec manual. Okay, so whatever works down here. You can type in your RGB values. I end up just dragging this around at this stage. If it's a color you're going to reuse, you probably hit this little plus button because then it stays down here and you can reuse it later on. Okay. The other one is the eyedropper. Let's use the eyedropper tool properly. So click off. Click on this guy and you're like, I don't want it to be white. I want it to use a couple of ways of getting the eyedropper tool. You can go into here, click on this version, and then can you see it kind of zooms it in so you can get quite accurate. It's pretty easy. We've got a big square here, but you can do it that way. You can close it down and go, actually this, just go straight, cut to the chase, give me the eyedropper tool, boom. Okay, and what you might find over time, as I'm gonna undo that, is the I on your keyboard, not the eyedropper as in EYE, the letter I. Okay, if you just type, if you click on this first, okay, so I got it selected, hit the I tool, and then click on this. It's a pretty common way of doing things. Lots of ways of doing the exact same thing. Now, before we go, I don't know, XD really wants that to be a little bit tucked in there. It keeps defaulting to it. You can, for the border here, you can click on it, the exact same sort of features. Okay, and you can see there's my reusable thing, color. I could make it green so it matches, or I could probably just turn it off. How to turn the border off? Okay, you could make it completely invisible. That's one way. Probably not the best way is just reduce the size to 0. No, that's a bad way as well. Just untick it there. It has no border. And I'm going to do the same for this one here. Now, how do I select 2 of them at the same time? Ooh, hold down the shift key. So I've got my selection tool. I've got you selected, hold shift, click on this other one, and they're both selected. Now I can say both have no borders. Oh, nice. We'll get into strokes a bit further on, and we'll get into fancier color stuff later on, gradients, yep, and we'll look at color styles and those sorts of things later in the course. But for now, that's the colors 101. And don't use colors. Maybe just 1, but don't let me catch you using 2. All right, there'll be trouble. All right, that's it. I will see you in the next video. Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to make lines and I don't know, all the different things you need to know about using these borders or strokes or lines, whatever you want to call them. Plus I'll also show you how to kind of like change everything at once, because at the moment everything defaults to this kind of like white line with the gray border. I'm going to show you how to do some cool shortcuts to kind of copy the appearance of this and match it over here. All right, let's jump in. Okay, adding a stroke is easy. Well, basically everything comes with a stroke. Draw a rectangle and look, you get a stroke around the outside. Okay, to adjust the size of the stroke, let's start with something simple actually. Let's go back to this rectangle here. Command 3, zoom in on the thing you've got selected. Maybe back it off just one. Okay, so with it selected, you can see I've got a border, turn it on. Okay, so the call out border here, it's normally referred to as a stroke, but I'm going to call it stroke because that's what I know it by. And we're going to pick a color for it that we can see. Okay, and the size is there. We can change it to 0. Okay, or we can bump it up. Now you can just type it in here. So if I want 10 points, I can hit 10 and hit enter. often it's kind of handy for any of these like little fields that have type in it is I can click in here, see my little cursor's flashing, and then I can use the up and down arrows. So up to add, because often at this design stage, you don't know what you need. You know, if you know it needs to be 5 later on, great, type it in. But often at the beginning, you're like, about, yeah, here you go. So I'm going to use 2. So you can, just as another little interesting tidbit, is if you hold shift and use up, it goes in chunks of 10. So see, hold shift and use the up arrow, 32, 42. Okay, and that works on everything. If I've got this and I'm like, I just want it to be a little bit bigger, 16, just use my up arrow, up, 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 hold shift and go from 22 to 32, 42. Okay, that's in any of these. You want to move it over 1 pixel, up. Pixel at a time, hold shift, bam, moves across loads. Totally wrecked it. I have no idea what that's meant to be or where it's meant to be, but you get the idea. Okay, so our border slash stroke, you can obviously do dashes. So I want a space of 5 pixels, okay? And it's kind of defaulting to 5 of the dash and then a gap of 5, but you can adjust that. You might put that as 15 or just 1, 5. Okay, so that's dashes. I'm gonna go to 0 and a gap of 0. There you go. Okay, so adding strokes, let's add a line through the middle. Now, we're gonna use this, the line tool. Okay, and so I'm going to click on this and I'm going to click, hold and drag from this side. Okay, and I want to again go black. So I'm going to click on the color, go like this. Okay, remember just drag it past that corner. And then the sides, I'm going to go up 1, and that's going to be my black kind of line through it. Now, it's very common to maybe not write product shot. I'm going to delete that and just draw a line through this box here. And a line through a box is kind of like secret designer code for placeholder image that the image is going to go. We're reluctant to put images in at this wireframe mode, kind of like the reason we don't want to use colors and fonts is we end up in a conversation about what image we should be using. Is it the right image? Whereas we just want a really rough, really quick wireframe to either get signed off by the client or to do some testing with, just some real basic quick testing. So we'll put a placeholder image in here. Now, one thing you're going to get driven mad by is every time you draw a line, at the moment, you can't change the defaults. Man, it kills me about XD, but hey, that's what we got. You might in the future see if there's a way of changing defaults, okay? But at the moment, the easy way to get around it is to do one of a couple of things. One is just to duplicate, see this line here? I could grab it, duplicate it, and I can rotate it. Now see this little dot in here? We kind of saw, where is he? There we go there. He does nothing. You can drag it over and try and line it up, or just, can you see over here? There's like a reflect. There's a reflect horizontal and vertical. You can do that to duplicate it. Another nice way is something called copy and paste properties. I'm going to delete that one. So this one here, this line here, he's got what I need. Okay, so I can go to, just use my shortcut, Command C on a Mac, Control C on a PC, just regular old copy. Instead of just pasting though, and then kind of moving it and flipping it over, what we're going to do is, I'm going to delete that, is we've copied it. Great. I'm going to click on this other thing. Okay, that's this one that's wrong size, wrong color. And there's an option in here that says edit paste appearance. Ooh, you'll learn that shortcut eventually. Okay, and it just means that, yeah, you can copy and paste appearance. Okay, and let's say that we've still got it copied. I can click on U. How do I select more than one? That's right, hold shift. I can click both of these. And then using my sweet shortcut, on a Mac it's Command Option V, on a PC it's Control Alt V, or you can go up to the edit menu. And look at that. It doesn't really matter. It's remembered that the stroke was black, and it doesn't really matter if the stroke is on this or if it's on the buttons. Okay, so you can select big bunch of stuff and kind of apply that appearance. Does that make sense? Am I getting too much detail too early in the course? Ah, well. The other thing is we're here now. So what you can do is you can say, actually, I like this, but I've ended up picking black because I'm allowed to use one color. Okay, but let's say that I've got something over here, type tool, other thing, and it is some other font. Okay, it's this and it's, I don't know, 10 point and it's the wrong color. Okay, you can do the same thing. Select it, go to copy, just regular old copy, and then select this one. And you can go to edit or use a shortcut or right click it. Remember, loads of ways to the same place. Look at that. It does it for fonts as well as rectangles, fills, borders around the outside, fonts, copy and paste appearance. All right, so those are my lines there. I've got some strokes there. Let's look at some other strokes. We're going to put that little burger menu in the top right hand corner. So I'm going to zoom in a bit so we can see what I'm doing. Remember, that's Command plus or Control plus on a PC. I'm going to grab my little line tool and draw a line, bloody gray thing that is 1 pixel. And in mind, I'm going to go back to my selection tool and I need 3 of these. Okay, so one thing that I kind of just glossed over there though is I grab the line tool. If you click and drag out, it'll probably get close to being straight. It's not. Okay, like we did before, remember with the rectangle tool or the ellipse tool, if I hold down Shift, it puts it into a perfect height and width. Okay, E for the ellipse tool, hold down Shift, perfect height and width. That same tool, when drawing a line, okay, will make it straight. So let's delete all that junk, L for the line tool, and then click, hold and drag. Okay, and if I hold down Shift, watch, snap. Okay, it wants to go straight. Well, it wants to lock into kind of different degrees. So like different, is it 90 degrees? 45 degrees. So there. I'm holding Shift down the whole time. I'm not letting go of my mouse and I can get something straight. There you go. Okay, I'm going to get him into position. I'm going to say duplicate you. I'm using my Alt on a PC drag or Option on a PC drag. I'm going to do another one. And what you'll notice is, can you see, it says, do you want this to be exactly 11 pixels like the one above it? You're like, yep, I do. Good work. So this is going to be my little burger menu or nav sandwich or, I don't know, mobile navigation icon, whatever you want to call it. These are these little stripy lines. It's going to allow me to do a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to use my size-wise. For me, it was kind of about 75% was my nice kind of like roughly the right sort of size on my phone as compared to my screen. So get your nav sandwich kind of the right. Most people call it the burger menu. I call it a nav sandwich. I heard that earlier on and it stuck with me. I might be the only one calling it a nav sandwich, but here you go. So you're looking at it at this sort of size. You're like, no, the stroke weight's too low. So I can go here. I'm going to stroke size 2. Is that about right? Yeah. And it kind of matches everything else I'm doing. Maybe up one more. That's too big. Remember, you should be testing on your phone. But I'm going to zoom in, Command or Control 3, okay, to be on the thing you've got selected. We'll zoom right in, a bit too close. I'm going to zoom back a little bit because I want to show you a few other things. So, we're going to pick black and also select these guys and these options here. So this happens. So we've got this unfortunately named first one. That's the default. That's where the line kind of just ends and butts up to the end. Okay, so the next one is the round cap. Look at that. Your line is this long, but it kind of circulates over the end. You can see what's going on. And there's the square end as well. Okay, so there are times where you use all of them, mainly just these first two. Okay, I'm going to use rounded caps because it looks kind of pretty and it matches my rounded corners. And I'm kind of starting to creep into the adding design where we should be really just keeping it simple for our navigation. But hey, you're not the boss of me, I'm the boss. And I can decide to put rounded corners on if I like. You can see there it seems too thick, but let's go back out to 75 and my computer seems about the right size. Yours might be 100%, so just still feels a bit big. Now you can adjust them all. I can select them all and just go like something like that. There's no official size, okay, but you might go and check somebody else's icons to get a, if you're finding it really tough to draw 3 lines that looks like a real normal kind of nav menu, go and check other people's online, what they've used. Another thing while we're here is I'm kind of sticking to lines. So lines through this is pretty common, but actually it would be common to put an icon in here instead of these lines. So we'll do icons later in the course, but I wanted to, while we're here talking about lines and placeholder images, I Googled it, there it is there. It'd be common to put an icon like this. You don't have to draw it. I'll show you later on how to get most of these for free from places, but you might get rid of those lines and dump that icon in there. All right, that is all I've got to talk about strokes. Yes, I'm going to get these texts to match. So I'm going to select all of them, holding my Shift key, and say, you, my friend, are going to be black. Because I'm going to fix that. Actually, I'm going to select this, remember, copy, U, Command Option V on a Mac, Control Option V on a PC. And what I actually might do is bring it to the front. There's many ways. Use the way that you like. I'm a shortcut nerd, so Command Shift, square brackets to the front. Oh no, the text is in front of, the text is behind it. U to the front, You behind there. There we go. That's a interesting point. Let's say I want to move this back one, not behind. I want to move it behind this, but not that. So you might have seen it in there. I can have this selected. Instead of saying right click, send to the back, which goes behind everything, you're like, no, 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 just behind the circle. You can say send it backward. There you go. And it will go back just one level. Okay, so you can kind of go backward a few different times depending on where you need your layer order. Okay, again, black and somewhere like that. All right, that is it. Let's get on to the next video. Hi everyone, it is class project time, a slightly bigger one to do. But actually before you move on, if you're like, I'm not doing the homework and I'm skipping. Before you do that, before I get into my spiel about why you should do the homework, okay, there is actually some useful stuff towards the end of the video. So if you are gonna skip, naughty, but you can skip to the end because we'll talk about how to make the pages longer and triangles and stuff. But for those of you who are thinking, I'll do the homework later on after I watch all the videos. A, you won't because nobody does. And it's great to practice what you've learned, and it really kind of helps it stay with you for longer than, you know, a day after this video. So do these, and what I'd love to see is, you know, your project at the end of this, what you make out of it. Because we're using our own random project generator, it'll be unique for you. So yeah, that's my spiel. Let's get going. Okay, so you should be able to do everything in here. There is a couple of, like, that's just a rectangle with a white fill. Okay, so nothing fancy going on. These things, these radio buttons, they're not radio buttons. They are just two circles. So it doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but get the kind of rough structure the same, because throughout this course, I want to be able to take you along on this journey, but I'd like you to build something that is unique for your own portfolio. So instead of doing Scott Green tea, use whatever was on that brief that you got from the randomprojectgenerator.com. In case yours might be, I don't know, Smith honey or bubbly tea or whatever it was. Victoria told me bubbly tea was cool and hip. That's why it's in there as an option. I don't know what that is, but I'm trying to be cool and hip. So use your own name. You can pick your own color. You can pick your own font. Okay, but keep it really simple and see if you can build this thing out. So there's 4 pages. Let's check out your. So this is your the actual requirements. Okay, so I want you to build that wireframe. If you can't see it, you can either pause the video from a second ago. Pause this here, or in your exercise files, I've made a PDF of it in there that you can copy from if you can't quite see the small version. Okay, it's called wireframe example. So 4 pages, those are the 4 pages, your own color, your own font. And when you're finished, take a screenshot of what you're up to, okay, and upload it here to either the comments or the assignments on the projects, depending on where you're watching this. So if you've never done a screenshot before, on a Mac, I know what it is. Okay, so I hit Command-Shift-4, and then I can drag a box around this, and on your desktop, be that screenshot that you can upload. If you're on a PC, I'm not sure. I think you do a print screen and then paste it into something, but Google how to do a screenshot. You can take a photo with your phone of your screen. That's fine. Okay, so do those things. There's 2 things that might give you a tiny little hiccup. How do you draw an arrow? You can't draw arrows in XD, I'm ashamed to say, at the moment. Okay, so it is just the, see over here, the polygon tool? Is that what they call it? Yeah, polygon tool, and I drew a triangle. I rotated it around. How did I rotate it? You can use this thing, or you can hover in the corners, okay, and just kind of drag it around. That's a pretty good thing I should probably mention. Yeah, you can just hover around things around the edges and rotate them, or type it in there. And the other thing, the really important thing, okay, and the reason you listen to this whole video, even if you're not doing the homework, naughty, is this. There's an extra long page here. Okay, so if you've got a page that doesn't quite fit, like my one doesn't, okay, you can click on the page name and you can just drag it bigger. Then you get this dotted line. Ignore that for the moment. Don't move it. You can move it, but don't move it yet. We'll talk about that in a later course, but you can actually just click on the name of the page or the artboard and just make it longer as you need. Okay, and we'll show you how to do scrolling and things later on. You might squeeze it all up there. I don't know why I did that. Look, there's plenty of room. Okay, but that is it. That is your homework. Let's not call it homework. Fun exercises to help practice and learn stuff. But anyway, that is it. I will see you in the next video after you've done this. Hi there. In this video we're going to look at where to get free icons for your wireframe mockup, how to choose them, kind of some introduction to some of the licensing around some of the free ones, and in terms of what format you should be finding your icons. Okay, in this case PNGs versus SVGs. All right, let's jump in. Okay, finding free icons, especially at this wireframe stage, we don't want to be sitting here designing our own icons, which you can totally do. What we want to do is go off and get some kind of at least placeholders. Now, there are lots of places to find free icons online. I'm going to show you iconfinder.com. I really like it. But if this is no longer here or the quality is not up to your standards, okay, you can use what we're learning here about free icon finding for any website. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to be looking for an account icon. Okay, I want that little kind of many person-y thing that you click on when you want to get into your details. So at this stage I'm looking for free stuff because I'm not looking, they have amazing paid stuff as well, which is totally worth it. But at the moment I'm looking for free because I'm just kind of getting this mock-up up and out. And what I'm also looking for is licensing. So this is the important part, is there's commercial use. Okay, now something called the Creative Commons license. So you'll need to check what you're using. Okay, in this case, I want to use not only commercial use, because this commercial use requires a backlink. Okay, so I want the one that says no backlink required. You can see here, commercial use, and doesn't require any sort of backlink to the original creator. Sad, but it's not kind of what I'm ready for right now. Okay, I just need some quick stuff for a mockup, or at least my wireframe. But it does cut down what's available. Okay, in this case, there's plenty for me to get started. So something that kind of looks like a person-y thing, I'm going to go for. Now, only me and the editor know that I was staring at the screen for about, I don't know, 2 minutes. Hopefully the editor cut that, that section out. And I'm really quickly picking one, but I didn't. It's been ages picking one. Obviously, we're trying to avoid stuff with very high style because that'll start a conversation about what colors. Is that really the thing we want? We want something kind of generic, but I wanted it to be nice. Okay, so this brings us to one of the big parts. So other than licensing, what you need to do is the kind of format. So PNG is something people know and love already, okay, and SVG you may or may not know already. So we'll look at both of them. So I'm going to download this kind of appropriately sized 48 pixel PNG, and I'll download this SVG version and I'll show you the difference. Wait there. All right, so I've downloaded the PNG version and the SVG version. How do I get them in? That's a good point. In XD, there's the long way. File, import, okay, or the shortcut there. Okay, and you can go and find them. There they are there. You can bring in more than one by holding Shift and clicking 2 of them. So I'm going to bring in both of them. And there they are. There's our 2 little guys. So what we want to do now, let's have a little look at them. Okay, so Command 3 to kind of zoom in on them. And then I back it out a little bit because that's a bit close. So you can see the difference. PNG, bad. SVG, good. PNGs, PNGs aren't necessarily bad. I've kind of exaggerated this by downloading a small one, but it's made up of these little cubes called pixels, whereas SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. You might know the word vector. The nice thing about vector is when I try and scale it up, okay, remember hold Shift to lock the proportion. Okay, I can make it nice and big and it doesn't lose quality. Okay, it's really big. It could be as big as a bus, as a mountain. Okay, and the file size will still be relatively small. Okay, and it will still have great crisp edges. Whereas this, even if you download a larger one, so let's jump back to the site. I kind of downloaded the low one. Okay, let's download the really big one. Okay, and have a look at that. Okay, I've just downloaded the large version. Okay, the difference is it'll look great, and I'll show you the way that I import stuff into XD. It is the non-official way. So what I do is I don't use this, all the shortcuts. I am lazy? I don't know. I drag it on. That works. Whoa, he's big. Where is it? Okay, so I downloaded the really big version, and you'd be like, yeah, so that's good quality. The problem is the trade-off is file size. So I can check this in my exercise files, and there he is there. So there's the 2 PNGs, there's the small one, and it is 2 kilobytes, just the same size as the SVG. Whereas the big version, well, hey, look how big it is. Very, very big in terms of web sizes, okay? So multiples larger than the smaller PNG. So PNGs are fine. Not scalable. The other big thing you can't do with PNG is you can't color it. So let's go back into here, Command or Control 3, zoom out a little bit. Seems weird, that's the way I do it. Anyway, you zoom in how you like. Okay, this thing here can't be colored. You can take it into Photoshop and color it, whereas this, you can click on it and say, I want you to be whatever color I like. So SVGs are good. Make sure you've got the license to use them. Don't be afraid of paying for them, okay? I don't wanna say that you shouldn't pay for them, but at this stage for this wireframe, I'm not at that stage. We're not committing to any of them. We just need them here for some basic testing and for client approval, that type of thing. And the last thing, while we're kind of lumping in SVG versus PNG icons, is this is editable. This one here can't be changed, okay? You can't move it around. We'll do this in a later video in just one or two of them, but I want to throw it in here as well. I've double clicked it and you can move it around. Look at that. Hey, that's the other perk for SVGs. All right, jump cut. Coming back here, because there's one other thing important about finding free icons that I forgot to mention while I was in here. We've found this kind of like account icon, right? And often though, you're gonna need, well, often, every time, you're gonna need more than just one icon. So if you're looking for free icons, before you commit, okay, actually have a look at them. In this particular website, you can click on the actual icon, okay, and go into it. And you can find down here, look, it's part of a larger pack. Okay, so that's the nice thing, is that I can then go and find, because I'm gonna need, well, I don't like the burger menu, but shopping cart I like, okay? Oh, and there's an alternative for the account, okay? And there's a plus and all the other kinds of icons that I'm probably gonna need in the same sort of style, okay? So that's quite handy when you are making a choice, is to find one that is not just a lone ranger all by himself. He needs to be part of a larger group to kind of make your life easier. But also don't, well, be prepared that there's going to be icons that aren't part of every pack that you're going to need to make yourself, and you sometimes end up just recreating the whole set eventually because you want a style change and there's not enough in that kind of style, or it's off-brand. Yeah, so start with free icons at this wireframing stage, but be prepared to make your own later on. We'll do it in this course too. I'll show you how. All right, that is it for free icons. And the last thing I want to throw in there is that they don't have to be free. You can totally be paying for these, especially if you're working at a company. These are, you know, the money you're paying for icons is pretty low and it supports the people making it. What I tend to do is I've got a subscription to some stock sites. Okay, so stock is the stuff that's pre-made, that's paid. I pay a monthly subscription to two places, weirdly. Okay, Adobe Stock and Envato Elements. Both of those places have different flavors of good things, okay, and I can go in there and check, and instead of having to, you know, kind of like maybe scrimp on because you're looking at free stuff and not get the icon that you really want, is I've got subscriptions to those sites. I pay monthly, and it means that it doesn't cost me anymore to get a great set of icons that maybe, you know, and supports the artists / designers who make them. Anyway, that is it for free icons. I will see you in the next video. Hi there. This video we're going to look at something called UI kits. They've got other names and I'll describe them in a second, but basically it's looking for other, instead of looking for kind of individual icon sets, is to look at kind of existing other people's XD files that you can open and borrow icons from. So I've got a couple here that we're going to look at. I'm going to show you what to look for, how to get them, and we can use them for our project. So probably the easiest term to Google is XD UI kits. Kits is the word we want, kind of a pre-made kit, and it's going to have icons in it, okay, but it's going to also have other elements that we might need. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the ones I've downloaded. So this one here, you can see it has buttons all ready to go. They're a bit too stylized, but we could down style these. Okay, but there's a big kit, and this one will download all sorts of things that you're just like, oh yeah, I need a loading thing, and I need a image placeholder. Don't like that one. I need a heart. There you go. Okay, all sorts. Oh, checkboxes. Oh, there's my where you go, my radio buttons that okay, you might need help with. It's hard to know what it should exactly look like. So UI kits is one word. Another word that you might be looking for is sticker sheet. Okay, that's what people sometimes call it as well. They call it a sticker sheet, where you've just, yeah, it's like this. This is a sticker sheet. All sorts of stuff all over the place, kind of to help you build things. And another one is a design system. Now, design system is quite the big, we'll talk about design systems towards the end of the course. Okay, it's what a larger company will produce to help describe what they are building when it's huge, big company. Okay, but also you can use that term to find stuff, even if you just want to steal icons out of it. Steal is the wrong word. appropriate, borrow, you know, like this one here is the Google UI kit, okay? And Google Android to be specific. So if you're trying to mock up a phone and use all the buttons that are, you know, naturally on a phone, it's good to use this because it looks like, instead of you trying to copy what it might look like in terms of the user interface, okay, you can use these like dialogues and it will match kind of the font and the right kind of positioning and styling. So forget I said the word stealing, appropriation is better. Okay, UI kits, sticker sheets, design systems, that's what we're looking for. So what we end up getting is, I did the search here and I ended up with these results. Okay, they can be tricky. Why are they tricky? Finding free stuff online. A lot of people are doing good and bad things. So sometimes you end up going and finding this and you go, okay, great, I found this site. I like XD Guru, they're really good. Okay, and they've got free UI kits. Great, that's what I'm looking for. And it's probably going to be XD because it's called XD Guru. But some of the links don't work anymore. Okay, that one there says free, but I just chased that one down and it's not free anymore. It's $5. I don't think this person should be selling it for free. Okay, it says free and then it's not, which is disappointing. Plus, lots of them sign up for email stuff, and be prepared for that. That's what I want you to say, is that it's sometimes a little bit spammy that way, where you've got to download and log in and sign up for free something or other. It's all free, but you've got to hand over a lot of personal details. So what I tend to do, some of these work, some of them don't. What I tend to do is Adobe. Okay, well, I've got this here. This will change. They seem to change it. They might update it. Okay, so adobe.com/products/features/UIkits.html. I'll actually post this link now in the exercise files. I will call it XD UI kit link. Look for that file. Okay, you end up here and it's cool because it has the kit for Apple. Okay, so I've shown you the kit that we've got for, they call it Google Material. Google Material is the name of all the design system for Android, okay, devices. I'm an Android person, so that's why I've got this one. If you're an Apple person, download the Apple kit. You'll end up with a similar kind of style in here, kind of things all laid out nicely that you can go and grab. Okay, so also in here down the bottom, there is a bunch of other ones. And these ones, the kits are just direct link. You don't have to have to sign over your privacy. You just kind of download these. I've downloaded one of them. Which one? I think I downloaded the hand-drawn UI kit in your exercise file so that you can have a look at it. Okay, and all it is, where is it in our exercise files? I've got these two UI kits. Okay, just to save you some time if you want to look at one. Okay, but there's the material from Google. Okay, remember Android, and there is the UI hand-drawn one. Okay, and if I just double-click them and open them, they open up in Adobe XD. Let's look at that other hand-drawn one. That's what this one is. Look, there's a bunch of icons. Okay, so there is just a nice way to get started finding other people's UI kits. It's already in XD. It's not only icons, it can be like things like buttons, and you can build your full wireframe with all of this stuff. How do you zoom out to see it all? Anybody remember? You remember. Command or Control 0. Okay, look at that. It's pretty complete. And then how do you use it? You copy and paste it. Okay, sometimes they might be grouped. We'll look at grouping in some other bits in a second, but let's say you really want that thing. Okay, that's that icon in the middle. You can see it's kind of part of all of this. Okay, I can right click it and say, let's ungroup. Still grouped. Ungroup it again. And now it's all in pieces. So I'm going to select these two, move it over. Hold shift and click these two. So I leave this in here because that's what happens. Okay, they're kind of grouped together, and sometimes to pull them apart, you need to ungroup them a few times, shift click them, join them back up. I'm going to select both of these, group them again, right, groupie. Okay, and copy it, switch to my other project and paste it. There it is there. Cool. You might use this instead of my little cross. And I'm going to say, you are black. And I'm going to get rid of these lines. Boop. There we go. Add your own sound effects. Sorry about that. So UI kits are handy. Okay, build stuff fast with a certain style, this kind of sketchy hand-drawn stuff. I'd be reluctant to use the hand-drawn style. Why? Because there's bound to be an icon that I don't have that's not in here that I'll have to do, and I'll have to try and make it look all hand-drawn-y. I'll end up spending ages for something that's not going to help my, my user experience testing process when people are kind of checking this and making sure my wireframe works. They're not going to care that it's kind of hand sketchy wriggly, but it's going to cause me problems actually making it. And when I say that I probably wouldn't, I probably would. I've done it before because it looks cool, sketchy. Look at that. All right, that is it. You're looking for UI kits, sticker sheets, or design systems, particularly for Adobe XD. Open them up and start appropriating pieces. All right, that is it. I'll see you in the next video. Hi everyone, this video is all about the weird things that happen in Adobe XD. The trouble is, like when you're either self-taught or this part of the course, is there's some things that are going to make sense later at the end when we're awesome and we know everything, but that'll catch us out really early on. So I want to describe them here now, and if you do get to the end of this video and you're like, oh, I kind of understood, but not really, that's kind of on purpose. Introduce it early, and we'll cover it over and over again throughout the course, and it'll be super easy at the end. First things first is this little panel over here. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. Okay, we'll cover plugins in a bit. We're going to look at assets a tiny little bit right here because it's going to show us some of our issues. And then there's this layers panel, which we spend most of our time on. Okay, so we've got a confirmation. See, these are artboards, aka pages. There's our homepage marketing, which I like at the top. Okay, and product details, which I like in chronological order, up to you. Okay, no real drama there. Okay, so those are the pages. What is this pasteboard? It's because you might not have it. Watch this. If I delete this, I go back to my artboards. Well, I've got nothing selected. Look, no pasteboard. If I undo it, look, we've got this pasteboard. It's kind of like its own page. Everything around here. You will always have pasteboard. Nobody's ever that tidy that things end up, that end up all on a page. You end up with these crazy workings all over the place. If you do that, don't worry, I do it too. So that's this weird pasteboard thing. Nothing too weird about it. It gets kind of weird when you do this. Half on, half off. Look at that. You can sometimes have something that is kind of on it. Let's do it here. Can you see that? Where'd it go? That's the pasteboard. So it's just that guy. So there's no pasteboard. That thing's down there. He's just holding on by the teeniest tiny visiblest bit onto this page here. So that happens. Sometimes you end up like going, oh yeah, I'm just working on this project, and it goes, bah. Okay, so that's one of the issues. It's not even an issue, it's just, now you know. And that's what the pasteboard thing is. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is when you are copying and pasting from one document to the other. Actually, I end up doing this quite a lot. You're like, oh, how is he jumping between documents? On a Mac, it's Command and the grave key, or Control and the grave key. And you're like, the hang is the grave key? It's the tilde key. And you're like, that's not more helpful. It's this key here. That one, I think it's this one here, but they're often combined with this. I think that's the tilde and that's the grave key. I'm unsure, but you're looking for that on your keyboard. Okay, so if you hold down Command and hit it on a Mac, it will change between open documents, and a Control and hit it on a PC, and it will do it. So that's how I kind of toggle between and copy and paste quickly. Anyway, that's a little bit of a sidetrack. Let's get back to the weirdness. So I'm going to just, let's go to, let's say this one here. And let's say that you want to grab this, okay, and you want to copy it and paste it and use it in your document. And you're like, great, I'm just going to grab it, and you're going to ignore that little diamond in the top left-hand corner because you're like, I don't know what that is. Okay, and that's going to kind of cause us problems. So we're going to jump over to our document. I'm going to paste it. And oh, look at that in here. It says, well, if you're pasting links across documents, you can publish a library. That is well above what we need right now. Okay, so too hardcore. So we're going to close it down. We'll look at libraries and components later on. So what you need to do really is if you bring stuff across and that warning appears, and or you go to this little option here. Can you see it says libraries? If I click on that, you've got all these components in here. We'll learn components later on and it will be easy. Okay, but for now we need to kind of just disassemble it so we can work with it in not going to give us trouble. The problem is if I copy and paste this, okay, and I got two of them, if I update one, they both update. Okay, which is kind of cool later on when we're more experienced, but for now it causes us just problems. So what we do is we bring in components that kind of come into our component library or in our layers. Let's have a look on our, if I select it, you can kind of see there, it's got that diamond icon. It's doing some funny stuff. All we need to do is right click it and say ungroup component. Okay. And then you right click it and you say Oh, there's still another one. There's components within components here. Good work on the designer who made the other UI kit did this, okay? Sometimes you need to keep going until there's no ungroup components. Now it's just a regular old circle with a rectangle and will cause you less trouble. If you ignore it being a component, it will probably still work, but you'll end up changing one icon and everyone will update. Plus there's that warning down the bottom there. So I guess I throw this in early in the course because yeah, it could be troubling when because I'm gonna get you to make some icons in a second. You're gonna run into that problem. That's why I've done it here. And if you don't understand what components are yet, don't worry, we're going to cover those later in the course. So what I'm going to do now is I kind of got it down here. I'm going to say actually just group them back together. Now it's just a dumb old switch. Doesn't do anything fancy. I'm going to give it a name. Okay, over here I'm going to call this one toggle switch. And the other thing is depends on your level of OCD. I'm going to click on my assets panel. Okay, and this we're going to cover later on as well, but there's these little components. Okay, we don't need them. Okay, we've turned that into just its own little group. They're not connected now. Okay, I know they're not connected because there's no little diamond in the corner. And if I right click them, it doesn't say ungroup component, just regular old ungroup. You can see all of this stuff. I've selected them all with the shift key. I'm gonna get rid of you. Super tidy. Look how tidy we are. Was it helpful? Maybe it wasn't. If it wasn't, carry on. Carry on with the course. You will learn components later on and you probably won't run into too many troubles. But that's the component issue you might have. You will find, like this one here, if I copy this from this person's UI, it's whoever made the UI kit. Did they turn them all into components? The Google people did. This one, if I copy and paste it over, first of all, I know it's not because it doesn't have the little diamond in the corner. And if I paste it over here, where is it? There it is. Put it in my pasteboard. You can see it didn't appear under my components and in my layers panel. Bloop. Okay, it's just a group. It doesn't have that little diamond. Okay, I know it's a group. Can you see that little folder icon? That's kind of like the signal for being a group. You can double click it to look inside the group. Oh, there's a group in a group. And then there's some paths that make this up. That's all right. But I know it's not a component, it's not going to give me any trouble. All right, let's get into some editing. So we bring in, I'm going to ignore those ones there. I'm going to bring in some icons. So it's up to you how you bring them in. File, import, or use the shortcut, or do what I do and just go, what do I want? In your exercise files, I want you to bring in the account one and maybe cart one, those two. Okay, and I just drag them on. That's what I do. So when you're bringing in icons from different places, they'll be different sizes. Okay, and that's one thing. They're different colors. So what I can do is I can say, because what we're going to do now is the next step is trying to get these things to match. Okay, and some of the issues you might run into, because I'm going to ask you to make some icons and make a little matching set. So what I want to do is first of all get them the right size. Now trust me when I say it's easier to work on them when they're really large. If they're really small, let's say they're really, really small like this. Okay, let's have a look at them. And let's say that they're still vector, so it's great. I'm zooming in, okay. Let's say I want to move this little circle here, because like that annoys me. Okay, so to get into it, I can do one of two things. I can right click it and say ungroup, okay, and ungroup it, ungroup it, ungroup it until it's in bits, okay. Or I can do kind of object editing, okay. So I can go into it by double clicking it. So I can double click it, okay. Double click it again. There you go. So it's a way of going inside of a group without having to ungroup it, because I can move it around now and then double click the background and come out. Okay, so it's up to you whether you like to ungroup things or double click them to go inside. You can kind of see it here. I went inside of it by double clicking it. I've double clicked this again and I've got this thing here. So fill 112 is this wheel. And we're going to run into the problem with it being very small. I've exaggerated it to be very small to kind of exacerbate the problem. I think that's the word I want. Watch this. If I go move just a little bit across it, just do. Okay, it's so small. It's trying to deal with such a small. It's actually trying to align to pixels, if you know what those are. It's got nowhere to go. It needs to line up with one of the pixels down here. You can't see them. Okay, the little squares that it's trying to line up with. So it's not really fun anyway. Okay, so what you can do is grab both of these because they're SVGs. Remember Command minus to zoom out or Control minus on a PC. I'm going to drag them nice and big, holding Shift so that they get nice and big. Another trick while we're here, okay, hold Shift and Option on a Mac or Shift and Alt on a PC, and that will kind of, instead of going from the top right, it will go from the center. Ooh. So that's Shift Option on a Mac and Shift Alt on a PC while you're dragging it. I do that loads, and I'll do it loads more in the course. So let's make it nice and big. Let's get you nice and big as well. Get them roughly the right size to try and get these things to match. Yep, looks good to me. So now when I double click it to go inside, double click it again, watch, I can have lots of adjustment. Okay, let's get in there. So loads of adjustment. So we can move it in nice little small pieces. Make it bigger and bigger to get this kind of adjustment you need. You can use your arrow key. Look, tap, 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 tap. It'll move 1 pixel at a time. Okay, so I'm gonna make mine a little bit bigger. Gigantic icons. It's okay, we'll make them smaller in a second. We're gonna get into drawing later in the course a lot more, okay? But for the moment, we're doing enough to get by to make, make our wireframes usable and over to the client and to the customer for testing. So scale them up. The other thing we're gonna do is we are going to try and there's this little bit sticking out now. So to edit it, I'm gonna double click it again, this bit. Okay, and I'm gonna click it once more. So I'm gonna go inside the actual shape. Okay, so in this case, there's a group. There he is there. Okay, there's my cart. If I double click it, I get inside this other group. I didn't make it. Somebody made it, grouped inside of a group. Okay, and then inside of that is this kind of part here, okay, which is fill 110. And if I go the last little bit, I can start to see all the anchor points, okay, and I can do some adjustments. So this is what you can do. This one has 2 points there, which is kind of weird. Again, I didn't make it. And these are the things you're going to run into. This one here, look, it's hid behind there. It's great. All right, so that's how you do your adjustments. You might decide that actually this one, holding shift, I can click all of these and maybe, there you go. Okay, move this down a little bit. Okay, and kind of fiddle it and move it around and get it how you want to try and match these two. The other thing you might do is to get the stroke weight up, okay, or at least matching. Can you see this one's like slightly thicker than this one? It's not really, but I'm going to imagine it is. I'm going to show you what to do. So a couple of things I want to do is I want to get these colors to match. I click on you, use my little eyedropper, grab you. You know how to do that, right? Excellent. So they're matching the same color. And let's say I want this to be a bit thicker. It's a bit thin and spindly for what I need, okay? Or at least this one needs to be thicker. Let's do it for this one. So what we're going to do is, at the moment, it is kind of this fill that I can adjust, but I can add a little line around the outside. Watch this. So I've clicked off from the background, kind of like deselected it, click on it once, and say, let's add a border. Let's add a big border, 5. Okay, it needs to be the right color, so I'm going to click on it and say you. Okay, so my stroke or the border matches the fill, so I can't really see it, but watch this. I can click in here and use my up arrow. You can see I kind of make it fuller, or lighter. I might decide that that's what I need for the size, okay, or the way it's being viewed. And same with this one, I'm going to say, I'm going to add a border. I'm going to, in this case, copy the properties because it's basically the same. Edit, copy, you, edit, paste appearance, okay, and you might decide that actually this one just needs to be one little square. That one's 11. I'm going to go down 1 to 10, and now they're perfect. Perfect-ish. All right, so that's how to get them matching. Let's look at the last little weirdness that happens in Adobe XD when I'm scaling. Okay, so they are massive now. So I'm going to zoom all the way out. Remember, Command 0 or Control 0, everything. Look at these ginormous guys. So I want to scale them down. So let's grab 2 of them. Okay, I've duplicated them. And I'm going to make you nice and small. Watch this. Get it down to like icon size. Whoop. Down to icon size. Where are you? Look, it's happening. You're like, and I'm exaggerating it to show you what's happening. Often what people do, they'll just go, yep, and not realize they've actually done what I'm going to explain now. So let's go really small, because what ends up happening is the stroke or the border, come here, buddy, it's still 11. That guy's 11 and that guy's 11. So he doesn't come down proportionately. There's a way of getting around that, okay? And it is, let's leave that guy where he was. Okay, this fella here, we're going to right click it and we're going to say something called outline stroke. It's going to stop it being this adjustment. We can't adjust the size again easily. Okay, so you're going to kind of do it once you've finished and getting them all matched up. But if I outline the stroke, nothing appears to happen differently, but except that when I scale it down, you can see there it scales down proportionately. Okay, and that is a more appropriate size. Hard to click. Okay, but that is the difference. Strokes do not scale. They stay exactly what you put them as. That is true of like these buttons here as well. And that's by default really handy because it means that I can make a big button, you know, and it's not proportionately thicker than this button. It's the same size, okay? All right, that was a video that had to be made with some strange things that happen. What were they? When you copy and paste, sometimes they come through as components. And just right click them and ungroup component until they're gone. And if you're really tidy, delete them from the components. Okay, you don't have to, just if you want to be nice and tidy. The other thing is the artboard. Okay, that is this page here. Or on our layers panel, it's considered a page on its own, and that's where these guys live when they're not on a page. And they can sometimes accidentally be on a page and you not realizing it and disappear, gone. What else did we learn? We learned that we can either ungroup or just double click on an icon to get inside of it, okay, to make adjustments. And if we keep clicking, eventually we can start editing shapes. And the last one was that the strokes do not scale. They stay the same. And we can right click and outline stroke if we need them to kind of stay fixed. All right, I hope that was helpful. If it's a little bit murky and you're like, oh, I kind of got it. As we go through this course, it'll become like, you'll be like, oh, why didn't we even have that video earlier on? It'll be that clear. Hopefully, if I do my job right. All right, that is it. I will see you in the next video. Hi everyone, it's class project time. This one comes with some bonus tips and tricks as well, so don't skip this one. So let's talk about what you have to do. We need 4 icons along the top and 3 down the bottom. Okay, so the icons that I want you to, like, you'll have to decide, you'll probably end up just using these ones. Home, a user, kind of like where people can log in and change their password and stuff. A cart that takes them to, you know, the purchase page or what they have in their cart, and our kind of pop-out menu thing we've already kind of designed. What I want you to do is get them to match-ish, okay, using the techniques we've learned so far, okay, getting the strokes right. You might even get them all from the same place, okay, icon finder, find a good set. I'm okay with that, okay, and same with the social media icons. Pick the social media icons that are appropriate for your target audience. Okay, so have a look at your kind of user profile and say, you know, are they a LinkedIn person, Twitter person, or are they going to be sharing on TikTok or whatever it's going to be. Add a bit of text, okay, about for them to share their purchase, and then add the appropriate social media icons. Then I want you to take a screenshot and upload it to the kind of comment section or the assignments on this page, okay, or in the next section, depending on where you're doing this. And this is just an example. It doesn't have to be like this, but something kind of like this. So I promised you some shortcutty, bonusy stuff. Let's look at that. Okay, so while you are working on it, is that you will undoubtedly, well, one of the things you can do is I needed to find a home icon. It wasn't part of that kind of group that I found on Icon Finder, so I had to get it from a different one. I had to add a stroke around the outside. Where was it? I'm going to bring it in. Command-Shift-I is the shortcut on a Mac, and Control-Shift-I is on a PC to import, or you can drag in like I've been doing. There's my little home one. So the difference between this one is that it wasn't quite thick enough. Can you see it was quite thin? You know how I said scale it up and start working? Okay, I didn't want to bother because all I had to do was add a little stroke around the outside. And I wanted to share with you, I was like, that's actually handy, is that when you do add a border, okay, and you do pick the right color, okay, is that 1 is not the small size. You can go down to 0.5. That's what I want to talk about. You can go down to 0.1. Okay, in this case, I think I picked 0.25. Okay, and tried to scale it and match these other icons here. Okay, so that's just the point I wanted to make. You can use teeny tiny fractional sizes for the stroke. Next on my tips and tricks is you probably want to group stuff, especially if you want to use this next tricks of, can you see they're not quite lined up? Okay, it's hard to kind of get them visually lined up. You select them all and you say, actually, I want them all kind of like, over here are your alignment tools, okay? Align to the top, align them to, I'm undoing, to the middle. You can see because this is not grouped, it's smushing them all together. So I'm going to say U navigation is either right click, okay, and go to group. It's one of those things you'll probably use enough that you'll get the shortcut. Command G on a Mac, Control G on a PC. So now when they're grouped, I can select them all. I'm just using my selection tool and just kind of like dragging a box over them all. And I'm going to say align them across the middle, please. Now that's not always visually true. Okay, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of working, but this guy needs to go like up a couple. That is totally allowed as well. There's no like, it doesn't have to be mathematically correct. It has to be close enough visually Correct. Okay, and the other one is, are they distributed? They're not. They're kind of, this one's a bit closer than this one. And again, you can do it if they're all grouped kind of individually, okay, grouped separately from each other. I can select them and there's this option here. And this will horizontal distribution. There's a shortcut that you'll never learn. Okay, what's that? Option Command H. I'll never remember that one. I don't use enough. So I can do that and it will try and separate them all individually. But because sometimes that there are these kind of like negative spaces here, sometimes you're like, actually, this guy just needs to go boop, just a little bit that way. That's allowed. I give you permission to boop things. I feel like that needs to go up again. All right, so that is the kind of alignment and distribution. Also what you can do is you can select them all and copy them, okay? Because what I need to do is I need to zoom all the way out. Who remembers what that is? Command 0 or Control 0 on a PC. Okay, so I've copied them all. And what you can do is you can say, actually, I want to get rid of you. Go. All these guys gone. Whoa, you gone too. Is I can say, you can click on the name of it, okay, and hit paste. It will put it exactly the right place it needs to on the page, as long as they're the same size pages. Okay, so that's a handy one for updating, you know, the pages instead of trying to line them up. Okay, the other thing you can do is you can do more than one. So I'm going to undo that. I can say you, hold shift on my keyboard and click the names of these three and then hit paste. Hey, look at that. Okay, that is your bonuses. Now go do your homework and get those icons on, and I will see you in the next video. Hi everyone, in this video we're going to look at prototyping our little mobile website, and all these little wires here, when they are all connected up like they are, okay, I can go through and say learn more, go back to the home page, go to the cart page, okay, adding a little bit of navigation to kind of prototype our design is what we're going to do. Let's jump in. Okay, to add the interaction, we're going to switch from design, which we've been up in the moment, to prototype. Nothing really looks like it changes except for this little panel changes a little bit. Okay, now to activate everything, click on the name of one of the artboards. Let's do the first page, the home page. And what we're going to do is when this page is clicked, we're going to get it to go to this artboard here. And you just click, hold, and drag that little blue thing. And so you can kind of see it says this one, okay, and then we're going to give it a preview. So let's preview it up here, hitting the little play button, okay, and click it, and your artboard will load up. Cool. Okay, and what we do is at the moment just click anywhere, and it's going to move to the next artboard, there to there. Simple. Click again, and it goes nowhere because we've only kind of rigged up one artboard. So what we can do is you don't actually have to close this down. Okay, this can stay open. For me, I often keep it on my other screen over here that you can't see. Okay, or we can just keep it here in this instance, and it just hovers above everything. You can close it down again and open it back up, no problem. Okay, but yeah, that's that. And the other thing to note is that it might be starting on the wrong page. You might be like, that's not the home page. It doesn't assume that you want to start on the far left, because you can have one over here. And it doesn't really know which one to start with. Okay, so what you do is to initiate it, you, like if I want to start at the checkout page to preview this, okay, just have the page selected or the artboard selected. Okay, and you can leave this open. You don't have to kind of like reset it. You can just click over here. Can you see? Oh. You see this adjusts depending on the artboard you have selected. So this thing doesn't need to be closed. So what we're going to do on the product details page is we're going to say you go there. And then on the checkout page, you're going to go there. So a real basic rig. Okay, and to start back at the beginning, I'm going to click on this home page and say click, click, click. Look at us. Fancy-ish. But at the moment though, that's using the entire thing, okay, clicking anywhere. What we want to do is have these buttons to go to places. So what we'll do is we'll close this down so it's not confusing, is to get rid of these. There's a couple of ways you can, like the way I do it anyway, is click on home page. To remove this connection is you just click, hold, and drag it to nowhere, not there, just kind of around here. You can go back to home, just kind of anywhere over here, let go, and it kind of breaks that link. Okay, so that's the way, one way of doing it. The kind of more official way is I've got checkout selected, and over here it's added a tap trigger. By dragging this little thing across, it is assuming a few things, that you're going to click somewhere or a tap. On a phone obviously is a tap, it's a click on a desktop, and it's going to add a transition to the confirmation page. Okay, and it's going to use the default for dissolve. You can say go nowhere. You can see just goes nowhere now. There you go. So we've broken all that down because what we want to do is work on actual objects. So what we want to do is, instead of clicking on the whole page, to get to the product details page is going to be my Learn More button. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to have the text selected. Zoom in. Let's have the button selected just so there's a bit more of a clickable area, and then you can drag it here. Cool, huh? All right, so marketing homepage. Let's click play, and so now nothing's clickable except for this guy. Hey, that's the basics of prototyping. Now what we might do is I want to go back to that homepage. Okay, I'm going to go, you, my friend, go back here. There you go. We're accepting all the defaults. We'll talk about easing and stuff in a future video, but for the moment, this is kind of what you end up doing. Homepage, Learn More. Homepage, just kind of rigging this thing up with all your, these are called wires, okay, and they connect to different pages. Another thing you can do in that preview is, instead of like trying to wire it all up just for your own navigation, you can use left and right arrows just to kind of move through them. If you just want to see what the checkout page looks like, and you don't want to use all the kind of interactions, you can just use left and right and it'll just kind of cycle through them all. The other really neat thing about this is, because it's always open, watch this, the design can actually change. You see, you can prototype it, be working on this and seeing what it looks like on this design without having to kind of close it and restart it or refresh it. So there's no real refresh button other than, I wish there was a kind of a go back to homepage, okay, but there's not. Okay, so you gotta click on this to kind of get back to the beginning. We'll use those arrow keys. So while I'm working I'll always have this screen open and I'll just have it over here on my other monitor, okay, and be working, and it just kind of shows me what it looks like over there all the time. One last little tip for prototyping is we did the home page. Where did we do it? Well, two little tips now that I think of it. Okay, I'm gonna select all. So Command A on a Mac, Control A on a PC. It's under, where is it? Select all. If you're in prototype mode, it'll select all and show you all the wires, which can be handy just to know what you have and haven't done. You'll be like, okay, I've done that home one, but you can see this one hasn't connected up. So that happens a lot with navigation. Okay, let's say that we don't have an accounts page, so I'm not going to use this one. It's not part of our task flow, but this one here does. So we're going to say, okay, you go to the checkout page. Okay. Now, I don't want to have to go, you could just go to home page, and that's fine with only 4 artboards, okay? But what you can do is, only if you're in prototype mode, okay, if you select all of these 4 and copy them, and we learned this trick earlier, right? And we delete these, click on the title, and paste them. Okay, can you see it brings back the links? It doesn't bring back this one because we're already on the home page, but if I go to this one, go delete those guys, paste them. Okay, didn't bring out, oh, this one didn't pay because we're on the checkout page. It doesn't, obviously can't show the wire going to itself, but the home page one works. This one's going to show me loads. This is a bit more, I don't know, get what I mean. See the home page and the cart page is there. So if you are kind of doing lots of repetitive stuff, make sure you're copying and pasting in prototype. The reason I show you that is, let's do it the other way. So that one doesn't have it, right? So if I do it in design view and I go over here and go, where is one? This one here, go copy. Okay, it won't bring through all of those wires. If I go here, delete, paste, and if I go to prototype mode, can you see it didn't copy and paste these wires? Okay, so you have to be in prototype mode to be copying and pasting wires. You'll get caught out eventually and wonder why, all the interactions not coming through. Just gotta be in prototype mode when you're copying and pasting. And in this case, we are mocking up a mobile phone. It doesn't matter whether you're mocking up a mobile phone or a website design or a tablet design, this little thing pops up just the same. Okay, and we're just sticking to mobile now because it's becoming the most popular for lots of, especially kind of this e-commerce stuff. So I end up starting a lot more in mobile, but that's not to say a desktop version or a kind of a rectangular horizontal version isn't where you should be starting and prototyping. The tips and tricks we're learning here all work the same. All right, that is it. Let's get on to the next video. Hi everyone, in this video we're going to take prototyping a little bit further. We're going to look at the different kinds of animation, what easing is, and we'll make something kind of like this. Watch this, things push across rather than just dissolving. If I go back using my arrows, we're also going to create this monstrosity. Ready? Oh, it's so bad. It's kind of cool. It's kind of bad. All right, let me show you how to do these in Adobe XD. All right, to create that amazing animation, we are going to just get a little bit deeper into prototyping. Now, you'll notice this one's called level 1 of prototyping, this video, because there is level 2 later in the course, because yeah, we can't throw the kitchen sink in there now. We want to get to a kind of I like to get you to a bit of proficiency early on in the course, and then we can dive in deeper on some of these things like prototyping later on. So let's do a little bit more now. First thing is that this is quite a small amount of artboards, okay? But let's say that buy now page is, you know, the actual, you might be 30 pages or 50 pages. Instead of trying to drag them and kind of like get to all the different places, what you can do is you can just click on the button, okay? And over here, say, I would like, well, let's click on it and say, I would like the transition to go to the artboard called the very well named page artboard, oh sorry, checkout, okay? And it will go there. If you don't name your pages, and it's called Artboard 1-2, 1-52, okay, which will happen. I'm naming mine here mainly because you're watching, okay, but that makes it easy. If you do name them, you can actually pick them from the destination. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to explain in this one is that over here, the default is a transition of dissolve. Okay, let's change ours to slide left. Okay, and let's have a look at, we won't go through them all, but let's look at slide left versus push left, because they seem very similar. So I want the purchase button to go here, and I want it to, you notice it remembers the last thing you've done? Okay, so if you change anything and keep adding it, it's gonna keep going to slide left. Okay, so that's kind of good actually. If you get something you like, you can keep adding it and it will remember the last thing you've kind of applied. So I'm gonna change mine to push left. Let's have a little look and see, because they seem like the same thing, right? So you play, let's have a look at, was it buy now? Slide left, look at that. Kind of slid over the top. And purchase is a push left. The whole thing kind of, there's no overlapping, it just kind of pushes it left. So you decide what you want. Also double check that you're not designing something that can't be actually at least easily done by your developer. Because your developer might, if you sell it into your client, bounce, and that first one you saw at the beginning, and the developer's like, you can't do that. And the client is, heart set on it bouncing in, okay, you're gonna have problems. So talk to your developer, have a good dialogue early on about what you can and can't do. So let's leave that here. We'll leave it there. Okay, and let's look at the other thing called easing. So I'll let you play around with the other animations. It's not very exciting. Okay, dissolve or none. None just means it's going to jump to it like a jump cut. Okay, and you can play around with these different ones. Let's look at the easing. Okay, the easing is, because without easing, it is pretty like, it's rigid. Let's preview it. Okay, so it is, watch this, by now, just kind of goes, there's no finesse to it. Easing is kind of slowing it down at this case, slowing down the easing out means that when it gets close to the end, it's going to kind of slow down a little bit, gives it kind of like a natural feel, even though it's digital. We can exaggerate it, okay, by going up to like, I don't know, let's go up to 2 seconds, which is too long, but it'll help understand easing a little bit better. Let's play this guy, let's buy now. Can you see it slows down as it gets close to the end? It's kind of like how real gravity works, if gravity could slide it sideways. Anyway, so that's easing, and you can mess around with what you feel looks nice. Okay, one thing you're forbidden from though is you can try it once in this course, and then you're not allowed to use it anymore. Okay, is the bounce. Bounce is the worst one. 2 second bounce is even worse. So let's go have a look. It is the barn doors, if you've done my Premiere Pro video editing course, or what's barn doors, another bad one, transition, page peel. Ooh. Okay, this is the equivalent for Adobe XD. Ready? It's cool for about 3 or 4 clicks of the button, and then it gets tiring. I'm not judging, you can use bounce. Other ones in there, I'll let you go through them all. I'll do one more with you. Interesting ones. Ready? So that's got like, what do they call that? They call it, let me think, Okay, I thought about it. I was thinking about it for ages. I had to Google animation rules, anticipation. Okay, if you don't know the rules of animation, it is a handy thing to know as a designer, especially a UX designer. Go check out, Lucas Ridley's got a great course on the basics of animation. But anticipation is kind of like when you lean back on your heels before you move forward, you put your weight backwards to kind of go forwards. It's helping people anticipate what's about to happen because nobody just launches forward. Okay, you kind of, put on your weight on your back foot before you kind of push yourself forward. So that's what's going on here. Let's have a look. By now, wind up. Let's make it 1 second, and then that's it. Ready? By now, kind of goes forward before it goes backwards, or vice versa. Can you see that? Ooh, it's nice. So yeah, that is going to be it for this one, I think. Play around with the different animations, have a play around with the different types of easing and how long they take. Find a bit of a thing that you like, and we will do more prototyping later in the course, some more hardcore stuff. But for the moment, I think we've got enough to continue on. So let's do that. Let's continue on. Hi everyone, it's me out in the wild. This one is a video about showing you how to get it to test it on your mobile device. Okay, because we need to see what it looks like on the device to pick things like fonts and actually do the testing, okay, rather than trying to use the thing on the screen. So this is my setup. This is what it looks like from the other side. This is moderately messy. Not too messy though, it gets worse. So what we need to do, I'm going to show you two different ways of doing it. The kind of a live update way with the USB cord, okay, with this little, you know what a USB cord is, right? So we'll do this way, and then I'll show you a way of doing it via the cloud. Both have their pros and cons. This one's kind of the most exciting way, so I'm going to show it to you, and it's kind of easy. Regardless which way we do, you need to download the app for your phone. So if you are on Android or Apple, doesn't matter, go to your App Store or your Play Store, depending on your flavor of phone, and download the Adobe XD app. Okay, download that. You'll need to log in with your Adobe ID and password, which you'll always have forgotten, and you need to reset password. Once you've done that and you're actually logged into it, it's pretty easy. You need to find a USB cord. You know what those are. Then you plug it in. Actually, what I'll do is I'll set up this so the camera can see both of them, hopefully. You wait there. Back inside the computer here for a second. So once you've connected your USB cord to your phone, go up the top here. Okay, so this like little device thing. Okay, and you should hopefully see your little device here and click on this. This is my Pixel 4. Click on that. And then let's jump back out to the other camera. All right, so this is my little setup here. Okay, I've opened the app on my phone. I've got my Adobe XD opened. I clicked on that little icon you just saw in the top corner. And depending on it, sometimes it just jumps to it, but sometimes, see down the bottom here, there's this little icon, connected device. And look at that, they match, kind of. They do, they match exactly. And what's really nice about it is, watch this, it's live updating. Whee, cool, eh? So you can have this plugged in and be actually working on things like font sizes. You can say, yeah, that is not quite right. Okay, and maybe the font size is too big on here, so I'm gonna go down to 30. Okay, so you can play around with, like, it's so much easier designing icons now because you can actually start touching them and go, is that big enough to touch? Click on it. Let's click on the shopping cart. Oh, went to the shopping cart. How cool is that? I love it. This is kind of like I made something and look, it's working and it's out there. Homepage, ready, learn more. Oh, even a bounce effect. So yeah, that is prototyping live on your device. You can obviously update it and it'll jump to the pages that you're working on as well. Can you see the page names here? Okay, and I don't know why, I've done this loads, but it's just something magical about it updating nicely. So the other thing to note is you can actually have, we've got our mobile phone, you can have your tablet version sitting there, horizontal, vertical. You can plug in more than one device and connect to them all. Yeah, awesome. One thing is, there's a couple of things. One is if, like, say, because what we're using this for is so the client can, so you can design with it. This is kind of like this function here. You could have the client sitting with you and using it on their phone as well. You could do it with user testing. So you could have your people using it plugged into the computer. I'll show you another way in a second that's probably better for that. But there are things like hints. So watch this. If I click somewhere, Can you see up the top there? It's going to be a little bit hard. I'm not sure if the editor can zoom in, okay, but it's going to got little highlights there. Let's go back to the home page actually. Yep. Okay, it's a little hard because I'm not holding my phone. I don't want to wreck the shot. But can you see if I click over, see these things highlight to give a bit of a visual cue of what you can click, because we're not going to rig up everything. I don't want to create an account page. I haven't been asked to make one. So it's going to help people kind of know where they're allowed to go within this mockup, and how to get out of it. You're like, well, my phone's kind of trapped in here. You can triple click. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And it kind of gives you stuff. You can say those hotspot hints, those that I just showed you, you can turn those off. Swipe navigation. We haven't got any swipe navigation yet, okay? We kind of do. By default, your phone will move from next page to next page without you having to like rig it up with the wires. Okay, so that's one thing. But the 3-click gets you into this, okay? Gives you a few more controls. We won't go through them all. They're all relatively self-explanatory, like take a screenshot, which is cool, and an exit prototype. That's the way to kind of like get out of here. What's quite cool about this is actually I can unplug this now, and weirdly this thing, even though it won't live update now, right? I can't live update it. Can you see me moving it? Probably can't, but it won't live update, but I can resume the preview and it will kind of cache it and remember it. So I can take this now to my meeting and it will still be there. If it's a very large document, say it's loads of images and it's like 100 pages long or 100 artboards long, plug it in, okay, and wait for a long time and cycle through the different pages to make sure it's all loaded before you unplug it. It'll eventually load. For this thing, because it's quite simple, it loaded super quick. But yeah, it all works even without it being unplugged. Oh, that thing again. All right, that's the one version, plugging it in. Let me show you the other version. All right, so we're back in, and let me show you the other way. It's quite similar, but you need to do a couple of things. So it's not, the drawback is there's no live update, okay? It means that, you know, you're not gonna be wiggling things around and it's totally updating, but that's useful when you're designing. But let's say you're taking it to the client meeting or to one of your potential users to do some testing. Okay, what you first need to do is make sure that this little icon's here. Might not be updating like mine, that little cloud icon. They may remove that, okay? But I'm saved to the cloud right now. That is the default for Adobe XD. Okay, you might be one of the people who are fighting it, going, you are file, save as my local document. This particular update isn't going to work. You need to save it to the cloud because that's going to upload it to your Creative Cloud library or your assets panel in the cloud magically, and your Adobe app, okay, that we just, well, the Adobe XD app that we just downloaded. Okay, so you still need to download that app. We'll have access to it wherever you are. Just won't live update. So let's have a look. If you have got them saved on your computer, okay, let's have a look. I've got a desktop version I made. Okay, look, no cloud. Okay, so what you need to do to make this work, you need to save it to the cloud. So File, Save As. And by doing that, it's going to default to the Creative Cloud and it's going to go with all the other documents, okay? And it will do this. And the cool thing about the cloud saving is that it's always auto-saving. So I never save in XD. It just saves magically all on its own without having to do it. You can do it, or if it's grayed out, it means it's already done it for you. But watch this, if I move that, you'll notice that every now and again, it will go and try and update itself. Okay, so there's always kind of a live update in the Adobe Cloud. Okay, you can hit manually save if you're still in the habit of it. You can see it doing it there. So it means now that let's jump out to the app and the other camera. All right, we're out. So because this doesn't live update anymore, it's kind of like a disconnect. So what happens is you save it like we just did to the cloud and then open up your Adobe XD app, the same one, but instead of like this third icon, you use this first one, which is your Cloud Docs. Okay, and there's my little updated guy. Look, he's updated 2 minutes ago. Open him up and hopefully, there we go. We've got our little animation going. We got our little prototype going. You can still interact with it like the other one. There he is there. Way, he's still there. The only difference is it doesn't live update, but it also means you don't need a USB cord. You decide what you want to do. This may change in the future. It might use wireless technology. At the moment, it uses Bluetooth. It uses wired USB connection to do that live update. But hey, this is totally fine. Often I just do it this way because I'm not like designing at the same time. I just want to give it a look over and a test in kind of like stages rather than live. Same thing, triple click to get out. Let's opt out it. So
because it doesn't update live, what do you do? So what you can do is, even if you're in here, okay, what I'm going to do is, let's say we want to change, I'm going to change something obvious. I'm going to reach over to my computer here, and I'm going to change the color of this. You can't see me doing it, but I'm going to pick this fetching color. There we go. I'm going to hit save on my computer, so just to force it to update to the cloud. Then, so I've done that now. So I've changed it on my desktop. Triple click down, exit, and just load it back up. Okay, it'll go look for the right one, and hey, it's pink. So I find that's a good way to do it. The other thing is, like, every time it starts at this page. Why? Let me jump back onto the computer now, and I'll show you how to force it to start at a particular page.
All right, so to get it to start on a particular page, what we need to do is you need to be on prototype mode. Okay, and then if you click on these pages, what ends up happening is, can you see here, see this like little icon here? Okay, that is going to just indicate to the app that this is the way to start. Ignore flow, we'll talk about that later on, but well, the basics is this is where the flow starts. You can have multiple flows by having 2 of them clicked. Okay, and people can decide which flow to follow. We'll do that later on properly, but for now, just have one flow. You can turn it on and off. Okay, and just have it on the page you want to display first in your prototype. And that is how to make sure that happens. All right, that is testing on a device. It doesn't have to be a mobile phone, it could be a tablet. Obviously testing on a computer, you can just do it on your computer that you're running Adobe XD on. And yeah, that is it. I will see you in the next video. Hey everyone, class project time. We are going to test on your phone. You are. Okay, so I want you to download the app and test your prototype on it. And when you're finished, I want you to take a photo of your phone with it on. Okay, it can be tricky because, you know, you probably the only camera you have is on your phone. So borrow somebody else's phone, or see if you can do some magic with your laptop camera. If none of that works, you can just take a screenshot, a big, just a flat screenshot of your screen. That's okay too. And I want you to test it on your phone. Do your own testing, make sure everything clicks. And I want you to be excited by the thing that you made on a phone working. It's so cool when it kind of comes out of the computer and actually starts being, I don't know, real. I don't know, I get excited anyway. Now there's a couple of things you might run into when you are doing your testing, and we'll cover those now. So let's look at Adobe XD. You might have noticed in the last video that some of the buttons that I was clicking, I had to click a couple of times, which is not good. Okay, so there's a couple of things you can do. Depending on your icon, okay, so this one here is relatively easy to click because it's quite a big square thing, but there's a lot of wasted space around here. So what you can do is this thing here, it's called home, it's in a group. What's in this group? Nothing, not a whole lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a rectangle tool, and I'm going to just draw a bigger clickable area. Okay, so there's this, I can remove the border. I'm actually going to remove the fill as well. Okay, so there's no fill, no border. It's still there. Okay, you just can't really see it. Okay, so that's going to be my clickable area. I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to group them hitting Command G or Control G on a PC, or you can right click it. Let's give it a name because why not? Let's be fancy. I call mine icon-home. I use the kind of like generic name first and then the kind of more identifying thing. So then this one here is my icon cart. Just, it's a nicer way of doing it so you can kind of clearly see where the icons are. Same with like button, it might be button by now or button primary or something like that. Anyway, so yeah, go through, add a bit more to the buttons if you need it. Test it first, might work perfect. You also might decide that, I don't know, they're too close together, or you've got big fat fingers. You can't help but click 2 of them. So yeah, do some testing on your own, on your computer, on your phone. Now, there's an app involved, and I'm not sure everybody's phone can do it. So you get a hall pass if it just doesn't work, but I'd like you to give it a try. And the other thing I want you to watch out for is font sizes, because I'm going to go Command 1 for 100%. I know that for my particular screen is not the right size. Okay, so I've kind of designed it at this size. You might look on your phone and go, too big. It's really easy to see, and you're like, too small. Okay, it's very common to have 16 as a body copy size, but you might decide actually it needs to be bigger for that particular thing, or smaller. Okay, have a little look on your phone, do some testing, adjust font sizes. We're not doing too much in terms of styling, but give it a test.
make sure all the buttons work. Do they go to the bits? You know, often you'll rig it up and then you'll start testing. You realize you can get trapped on a page, you know, you forgot to rig up the checkout. You did every other page, but there's no way out of this page. So give it a test, take a screenshot, upload it to the comments or the assignments or the projects, depending on where you're doing this. The other thing you might do is that I've done a size for my phone, okay, which is kind of generic Android size phone. You might be using like a plus size, or I know the iPhones are a lot longer, so you are allowed to, okay, make it perfect for your phone. Okay, so you can click on it and change the height and width. You can Google what the pixel width and height is for your phone. You can look at the default. So with this selected, you can go to your Artboard tool. And actually it doesn't update, but you can see in here, if you know you've got a, an iPhone 13, here you go, you could type these in. So just remember, well, you don't have to remember, you can just start typing them up here. What is it? So it's a little bit wider, 390, okay, and just do that for each of them, readjust it so it's looking good on your phone. The one thing you might have to do is, let's have a little look. We're gonna do it properly later on, but one thing that you might run into a problem, let's have a look, how tall is this? 844, so a lot longer. Okay, wow, a lot bigger, that phone. I'm not even sure which one I picked. iPhone 13. Okay, so this thing here, okay, this is your viewport, okay, be down the bottom, okay. Can you see here your viewport? Match it to whatever the height of your phone is. If it's 844, make it 844. Otherwise, it'll crop it off a little bit. Okay, so just make whatever that is the height, and I will explain viewport. You can skip ahead to viewport if you're total bamboozled by it. There's a video coming up, but that's one thing you might change. So test on your phone. Be excited about your design being in the world. Test it, make adjustments, take a screenshot, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, people, are you ready for your first bit of animation? We've been kind of doing animation, right? More transitions. We've been doing this, okay? The whole page kind of transitions over. Now what we want to do, that's the entire page. Animation is individual objects. Are you ready? How do I get there? Here we go. Okay, now are you ready? Oh, look at that. That falls down, the arrow moves across, it fades in. That is animation in Adobe XD, and you and me are gonna do that right now. Let's jump in. All right, let's make that animation. So let's look at this little arrow here. It's our confirmation page. The way this works is you need two pages. It's kind of weird. It's not like normal animation if you're from, I don't know, Adobe Flash Days or Adobe Animate or After Effects or anything that has animation. This is a non-timeline animation. We kind of duplicate artboards and connect them up. If it seems weird, it's a little bit weird, a little bit clunky, but it works. Hey, so what we're gonna do is on this first page, I'm gonna have this arrow. Mine's in two pieces. Okay, I'm gonna have it over this side. Keep it on the artboard for the moment. We'll do the basics in this video, and then in the next video, we'll go a little bit more extreme, or mainly show you the stuff that might catch you out. So we're gonna have this arrow on the side, okay, and we duplicate this artboard. You can select the name, you can right click it, can you duplicate it? Copy, paste. I just use the Command C or Control Z on a PC, and V, copy, paste. So we've got two of them. -1, we should probably call it something better, but hey, -1's working for me. And what we need to do, the way this works, there's a couple of like things that have to happen. You need more than one artboard, okay? And the other one is the thing that you want to animate needs to be named the same on both sides. And in our case, I want mine grouped because I don't want to animate the arrow separately from the stalky bit. That's up to you. So I'm going to select both of them, holding Shift, okay, and hit, I'm going to hit group. So you can right click it or go Command G, Control G on a PC to group them. And over here, this one's called Group 13, and this one's called Polygon 1 and Path 1 or Path 2. So that's not going to work. It looks for the name, so that's how it does its magic. Okay, and we can use something called Auto Animate, and it won't work without it. So if I group these two, so again, group them over here. One's called 13, okay, and this one's called 14. So that's not going to work. So let's call them both 13. It's handier if you name them before you duplicate the artboard, I guess, but I want to show you the hard way so you so you can do it the easy way later on. So these are the same. Something needs to be different. I'm moving this one across. If you hold Shift while you're dragging it, it'll do it in a straight line. Okay, and now nothing's going to happen. We need to add the animation. So let's click on the arrow. Let's switch to prototype mode. Okay, I don't want to get too far into shortcuts, but can you see
up here. If I hover above it on my Mac, it's option 1, option 2. There's a lot of, when you're doing stuff, on a PC it's alt 1 and 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Switching between design and prototype. Or just click the button. Okay, so prototype, I'm going to say you, go over here. And the magic happens when, by default, it's on transition. And that's what we did in the last videos. Okay, we transitioned the whole page, it slid across, and we added easing. In this case, we're going to go from type to auto animate. This just looks for the same name and fills in all the gaps for us. Okay, so it looks for, was it group 13? Okay, and looks for group 13 and just tried to combine the two. So let's just preview it. So let's click on the name confirmation and let's hit play. What I might do is just, we're going to do this a few times. So I'm going to leave this open permanently here. So let's give it a tap. Look at that. We did it. Hey, first bit of animation. Congratulations. You give it a go. So yeah, there's animation. That's the basics anyway. I'm going to use my arrow keys to go back. Okay, I'm going to go down here, purchase, click, moves across. So it's kind of working. It's not what I want. I want it to automatically go across. So let's do that thing next. So at the moment we've got this, when it is tapped, do this auto animate to this other page called confirmation 2. It's not what I want. Okay, so what I'm going to do is break that link, either remember, drag it kind of back off. This is the way I do it. Okay, so what we're going to do is the whole page, instead of just the arrow, because I don't want you to click that, I want the whole page to go here. Okay, it should remember the last thing you've done. It's going to say whole page, auto animate when it's tapped. Okay, and it'll work. Let's go over here. So let's click on this one, down to checkout. Okay, and when I click anywhere, it moves across. Still not quite right. Okay, what I want to do on this page is I want it to auto animate, but I don't want it to tap. I just want to say after a certain amount of time, and in my case, 0 seconds. So from this page to this page, after 0 seconds, auto animate to this other page. That makes sense, kind of? All right, let's check out. You click, click. Hey, look at us. We did it. It auto animated. Okay, so for the user, if I go back a couple of arrows, they only see one arrow moving across. The trouble is, it's not really trouble, it's just the way that XD have decided to do it, is that they have decided that every keyframe is an actual artboard, and that's how you animate it. So complex animation inside of XD is troublesome. I've done animations where there can be 10 or 20 of these artboards, and it's not great. Okay, there are other tools for doing animation for the web. Okay, things like Adobe Animate is a good one. Okay, but hey, we're at that prototype place. Also, I should note that we're doing animation in here. We shouldn't really be doing it, you know, at Wireframe, but this is a course and it's fun. I wouldn't be doing animation at this stage just because it's not the time to be delighting customers. Okay, these sorts of animations or micro interactions or little kind of success things should happen later on, the kind of final developments. It's the icing on the cake, not the wireframe. But we need to learn these things for this course. So moving arrow it is. So we've done movement. You can do lots of things. So you can decide that this is, I'm going to switch back to design mode. I'm going to make that smaller. Well, that didn't work because it's trying to kind of keep our stroke size and line it all up and be fancy. Okay, by default, we'll look at this again later on, responsive resize. That is fancy. It's trying to do some stuff that we don't want it to do right now. So with this selected, I'm going to say, turn that off thing. So I'm going to say you there, and it's going to be at the bigger size over here. Let's give that a go. Let's click on this artboard here, click on purchase. Hooray! It gets bigger and moves across. You can do other things. You can decide on rotation. I'm going to decide to do it, I don't know, it's going to start 180 from where it is. It's going to flip around. Let's have a little look. Oh, did you see it there? I missed it. You, back one more. You, way. Yeah, you get the idea, right? I don't like that. Remember to rotate things, you can type it in over here, but if you hover just outside your little, got my selection tool, okay, hover just outside of here, you can do it kind of manually. I'm going to turn mine off because that looked not desirable. The other things, so size you can do rotation, you can do opacity. So what I can't do is I can't delete it from here. If I delete it from this side, okay, hoping that it's gone from here and it will appear over here and maybe magically fade in, it's not going to. So let's go to purchase, and it kind of just appears. It doesn't know what to do. It goes, I don't know where the original one is. I'm just going to fade in. That's the default. Okay, so what we need to do is undo that. Is we don't delete it. We just turn the appearance, this opacity here, turn it right down, or as much as or a little as you like. So it's going to start there and move over to this one. Let's give that a go now. Check out. Ready? Ooh, fades in and moves across. Now we haven't played around with easing, so let's have a little look. Confirmation page is, I'm going to switch to prototype, and it's going to ease in and out, which looks quite nice. You can ease maybe out. Okay, easing out is kind of like, imagine adding some sticky glue to either the in or the out. The out is this side, kind of the finished part of the animation, and the ease in is the other side. So if I ease out, if I click on this one, and go here, watch it. It's going to start fast and then gluey, sticky out. Ready? Yeah. It might be hard to see your easing because the duration is quite short. So let's go up to 1 second. So let's, oh, you saw it there, didn't you? Can you see it kind of starts fast and goes slower at the end. I'm hating my animation, by the way. Okay, the size thing is kind of killing me. So let's go to design and undo that size. Where are you? It's hard to see it. Just kind of guessing at the size. Yeah, it looks nicer. So have a play around with the easing on your own. Okay, let's have a look. Prototype. Let's have a look. Ease out. Have a play around with them. You know what bounce does. Have a look at snap and wind up. And most of the time, if you're like unsure, just do ease in and out. Puts glue on both ends, so it's kind of like slow at both ends, and it goes fast in the middle. And often it looks really nice. So that is often a nice kind of natural in a digital kind of sense movement. So the rules for animation, you need at least 2 artboards, and on those artboards you need something that changes, okay, that has the same name. You could, let's just do one little example. So we've got 2 artboards. This thing here is called Icon Twitter. Over here, this one's called Icon Twitter. Great, so I don't have to change it. If you've actually manually named things, it kind of remembers it and goes, oh, he probably wants to keep that name. Whereas that was a random group or a random line, it just duplicates it and you end up with group 10, 11, 12, that sorts of things. So same name, that's the rule. 2 artboards, something between the 2. And in our case, let's do it bouncing down here. So it's just going to move down. That's the only difference. Okay, and are you ready for it? We are going to both delight you and bring up another problem that I unintentionally want to cover. So bounce, you ready? Come. Oh, look at that. You see, you're like, oh, that is good for that though, but the arrow's weird. Can I do it separately? No. It's kind of pretty rudimentary, as in the animation, the whole artboard has to do its thing. So you can't apply separate bits of easing and animation to individual parts. Mostly. I'll show you in the next video. We'll go a little bit more deep dive. Okay, but 2 artboards, they have to be named the same, something different, size. You can use color, you can use rotation, you can use opacity, okay, and have to be named the same. Have I said that? Anyway, that is it for this video. Let's jump into the next one. Hi everyone, we're going to take our animation to the next level. Don't get too excited, but let's go. Purchase. Slides from off screen, and then a check mark appears. Okay, so it's to kind of show you kind of the next step. We did something quite simple in the last video, and this is going to show us how to do some extra different timing, how to start it off the artboard, and a couple of problems that you're going to run into. It's maybe a little bit advanced for this stage of the course, but we need to cover these things early enough so that we can repeat them a few times. And I'm going to set some class projects, and you're probably going to run into a couple of the issues that I will clarify as best I can in this video. All right, you ready? I'm ready. Let's do this. All right, to do that animation, let's look at it. So if you want things to happen, like at the moment, everything happens at the same time, which is, like those things that happen, and they all happen at the same time. Same easing, same timing. What I want to do is actually, I want things to happen. I want that little check mark to come in only after the arrow's gone. So what I'm going to do is to tidy things up and show you how to tidy things up. So I don't want that bouncing for Twitter because it's just a bit distracting for this tutorial. So what I'm going to do is take that off. I just deleted him, so you'll notice he's gone now. There we go. Let's go back one. He's there, and it doesn't know what to do with it because I've deleted it. Just kind of fades out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually grab it, copy it, paste it over here. Double check it has the same name. Sometimes it gets kind of added a little number afterwards, but nope, they're the same. So let's preview it again. Yep. Cool. So just the arrow's working. But what I want to do is I want the tick box to appear. So what I'm going to do is over on this side, I'm going to turn the back to design. I'm going to make, where is my little arrow? So the arrow is going to be the opposite way around. I want it to start in and then fade out. Let's test that. Always be testing. You know, like I feel like I'm super good at this stuff. And if I try and do 5 steps thinking, oh, it's going to be great, I will preview it and realize something went wrong. So just test after every little change that you've made, just to make sure you haven't gone and wrecked everything. Because it's no fun hitting undo 10 times to start again for something simple that you might have caught at the beginning. So we've got that animation. Next is we want the checkbox to appear. And what we end up doing is copy and pasting and having another one. Okay, so it goes here, it fades out. It stays faded out. And what I want is the tick to appear. So what I need to do is have tick on this one and on this one. So let's bring it in, file import, Command-Shift-I. Yes, that is Command-Shift-I. And your exercise files, where are those? Okay, there's one called icon tick. You can get your own one. Ginormous tick. Hold shift, scale it down. So it's going to start here. I'm going to copy it, paste it here so it's in the exact same position. And this one, I want the opacity to be down. Look at that. All right, let's give it a go. So we've got 1, 2, 3 of these. So by now, checkbox, and nothing happens. Do you know why? I'm going to pretend I did that on purpose to teach you a lesson. But no, I forgot. Okay, there is this page here. Okay, if we go to prototype mode, it says go there after some time. Exactly 0 seconds go there. This one did not know the same thing. It just gets to here and goes, I don't know what to do. So we can say, actually go here after, remember the last thing I did, time 0 seconds. And I'm not going to get it to bounce. I'm going to get it just, when things fade in, other than bounce, okay, it doesn't really matter if you ease out, ease in, or none. It's so hard to tell an easing with just things that are fading. So don't sweat it. So let's start on this page. Let's go play. And let's go and purchase this thing. Slides across. And then that fades in. Look at that. And if you're like, oh, that happened, like I wanted the arrow to be gone for a little while before the tick appeared, you can do little things like that. So this one here, we say when it gets to this page, start moving on straight away. You can say, actually, just wait 2 seconds, man. Chill out. You wait there. Let's go. By now, gets to this page, plays the first 2, waits for a bit, plays a second. 2 seconds is too long, it feels. Okay, so you get the feeling. I don't know. We took it to another level. We added 3. You can have 15. Okay, if you want to try and get XD to do your kind of animation, bend to your will. It does get a rather complicated though. But take it step by step. It's fine. All right, the last thing I want to show you, it's reasonably complicated. I'd love it to be later in the course, but I know that I'm going to set a class project and you're going to go off and run into this problem. So let's identify it and get in there now. Again, if it feels like it's a bit too hard, it is a bit too hard early in this course. And we will do it again later on and it'll become easier and easier. So I'm going to start with, I'm pretending I'm you. Okay, I am your handsome self, and I'm going to go, all right, design. I'm going to go to my artboard. Dan said I've got to make an animation, so I'm going to pick this phone. I'm going to move mine down here for no good reason, just to keep it separate. Okay, and I know that I'm going to grab a circle, draw it out. So I'm going to pick a fill color. That's going to be my animation. I'm going to pick, I don't know. Wow, what is that color? All right, that's the color. So the rules were you need 2 of them. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste 2 of them. And what I'm going to do is I need to make sure that they're the same name. Okay, so this one's called ellipse 6. So we'll call this one animation 1. And we'll call this one animation 2. Just for, you don't have to name them, just to make it clear in this course. Okay, so on animation 1, there is something called ellipse 6. This is called ellipse 6. Great, so that's going to work. And what I'm going to do is I want to start you off screen. And that is where the big problem happens. Okay, this is where we've made a mistake. Because you're like, okay, I'm going to start him off screen and then I'm going to move him across. So he starts here. Remember Dan said, okay, I want to switch to prototype. I want to connect these 2 pages up. I want the trigger to be just after some time. maybe after 0 seconds, to auto animate over here. And because they're named the same, it's going to work. So I'm going to hit play. Oh, I just kind of faded in instead of moving in. Okay, the problem is this is not actually on animation 1. Okay, it is on, remember the pasteboard? Remember I've got all my pages and then there's random pasteboard 1. So that is the problem. How do you fix it? It's all about timing. Okay, so if I undo this and go back, so I'm back to here. So I haven't added my trigger and I haven't moved this off screen. So before you do anything is this whole animation, if I say now, before I move it off screen, if I add this animation that says trigger time, okay, so I've done all that. And if I move it off now, it kind of goes, hey, he's going to try and move this off the pasteboard, but it's going to break my auto animation. So I'm not going to let him. So it's off the screen, okay, but it's not on the pasteboard anymore. It's still on. Oh, my naming's gone. I undid too much, but you get the idea. Remember -1, -2. It's still on -1, even though I've pushed it over here. So make sure you add the auto animate before you start moving it across, and it will try and keep it connected for you. So the only other trouble as well is that it's disappeared in the pasteboard over here. You can kind of select it. It's a bit tricky. Okay, it's over here. Like I said, there are some funny quirks for the XD and animation, but I've got it selected. Let's play it now. And it moves on. Okay, and it needs some easing. Let's go easing, snap. So look at that one. Ready, play. Ooh, it's got this kind of like, snap is, goes forward a little bit and back a little bit. Kind of back a bit, a little in bit. It looks quite nice. So yeah, that is it. If you're doing animation, okay, get your 2 pages and just add auto animate early on. And it means that if you end up dragging anything off the edge to the pasteboard, it'll keep it connected. Can you drag it to the right page afterwards? I can't work out a way. You might work out a way, okay, but you got to kind of break it apart and start again. Add the auto animate early. Now, this version up here is totally going to work. Mainly because I added the auto animate first before I'm going to drag it off. So let me just show you. I'm going to add some spacing here so I can actually move it off screen. So remember, it starts over here, and look, it's still part of this confirmation page because auto animate's already applied before I drag it off. Is this useful? Man, I feel like this is pretty complicated this far in the course, but we're getting there. What do you reckon? Hey, starts off screen, does a little bounce, fades out. Ooh, and we'll wait for our little tick to appear. That takes too long. All right, that is kind of next level animation. Okay, we've got an extra artboard to play around with timing because we know that we have to kind of do the same easing and the same type of animation on between the entire artboard, not individual ones, but we can kind of fake it by having more than one artboard. And you might run into problems if you're trying to get something off on the side, okay, and dragging it in if you don't add the auto animate first. It ends up on the pasteboard, which is bad. This is going to become more and more useful when we do things like a navigation. Okay, later in the course, we're going to click on this and the whole navigation is going to slide in, not just a lame arrow. And we need to do that trick, otherwise it'll end up on the pasteboard. All right, that is it. I will see you in the next video. Okay, class project time. You're going to create your first animation. Okay, so if you are new to animation and you're finding this a little tricky, just recreate what we did in the video, okay, and upload that. If you are feeling brave and confident and gonna do something, I want you to do something slightly different, okay? Getting the arrow slide in is no fun. So think about what you might do. So you might get it to come in from a different direction. It might be a different shape, maybe a different icon. Have a little think about how you would convey the auto-received idea, and I'd like to see it. Okay, so depending on your computer, Mac and PC, what you can do is you can actually record your animation and upload that. So I'll show you how to do it. So in XD, you can preview your animation. So I'm going to go you. Okay, what you can do, can you see this little record button? On a PC, it's over this left-hand side. Okay, on a Mac, it's relatively simple. You click it. It's going to ask me to kind of open my system preferences, say, let it do the recording. That's fine. You wait there. Okay, so open the settings, and in my one, Adobe XD needs permission. Quit and reopen later. Seems to just work when you do later. Okay, now if I hit recording, can you see the little timer going? Okay, and I'm going to go to this. And that's my animation. Okay, I'm going to stop it. It's going to ask me where to save it. Let me put mine on my desktop for the moment. let's go see what we got. So desktop, you've got a little MP4 showing me my little animation. And that's the one I want you to upload both to your, let's wait for it. Ooh. It's a circle now because it's meant to represent a finger, you know, using your touchpad, or at least you're touching your screen, right? So on a Mac, that's relatively easy. On a PC, it's not as easy. I think the record button's on the left, and it might ask you to use some bit of software. I think it uses Microsoft Xbox kind of record software. See how far you get. If you're like, oh, I need to install stuff, it's too hard. Okay, if it is in the too hard basket, I'd love you to try because I'd like to see your animation. But what you can do is actually just screenshot all of these three. Okay, of your animation, or 2 if you've only done 2. You know, if you've got the time and you want to practice, do 10. Okay, you know, different kinds of things going on. But if you just kind of want the basics, just do that one simple animation and take a screenshot of it, upload it. I'd love to see this one. So up until now, you've been uploading it in the comments and or the assignments feature on the website. What you can do now is, I'd like to actually start seeing stuff on social media. Okay, so there is, in your exercise files, there is a group page called Bring Your Own Laptop Online. Okay, it's a Facebook group. There's a similarly named LinkedIn group. Okay, it's called the Bring Your Own Laptop LinkedIn group. Or these are my handles for Instagram and Twitter. Tag me in those. And I'd actually like to see it. You can also go have a look and see what other people have done. Use the hashtag XD, okay? It helps you kind of search for things and see other people's work. But yeah, so do it, upload it to the kind of the regular place, but also look to upload it to social media. And when you are uploading to social media, you know, put up there like, hey, this is my first animation. I'd love some feedback. And we're a really friendly bunch. If you are a little bit worried about it, we don't know you, put it up. You know, we make sure we kind of moderate our group. I know we set some great values in there that this is for new people. You're a new person, upload it, get some feedback. Tell us what problems you had, what things you would like to do. How did that person do that one? Can you show me, or can you tell me? It's that kind of Facebook group. It's less of a Instagram glamour show and more of a, look what I made. I'm excited, even though maybe in the grand world of animation, it might not be the world's best. Okay, but that's okay. We're here to learn. Ask for criticism if you want it. Otherwise, post it and say, this is what I made. Thumbs up, and let us know how you're finding the course. Now, one thing is when you are uploading it to the various places, some social medias will let you just dump the video straight into them and make it work. But some of the comments and some of the assignment uploads, you will have to upload it to something like YouTube or Behance or Vimeo or something else first. Okay, and then paste the link in. It'll be viewed through the link rather than the actual video itself. If that sounds too hard for you, just do screenshots. That is fine. But I'd love to see it, remember, and you know, posting it up onto a free YouTube account or Vimeo account or into Behance or whatever you can do to host it somewhere, your video, and then just post the link. So yeah, that is it. Do your first animation, simple or advanced, upload it. I'd love to see it. All right, that's it. Go do your homework and I'll see you in the next video. Hi everyone, in this video we are going to share our wireframe with our client in this case. Okay, so we're going to send it to them. They're going to be able to, this person's named Neil, okay, and they're going to add comments, okay, and different pins. So this one here, they can add pins to mark specific things, to tell me, yeah, to give me feedback as a designer. I'm going to show you how to create the link, send it to them, and how you kind of work with these comments between you and your client. All right, let's jump in. All right, to get going, let's go to this third tab here. So design we've used, prototype we've used. Now let's look at share. Okay, share allows us on this side here to send a link to, let's call him Neil. Neil is a fictional character. He's a simple creature. Okay, I kind of use him as an example because I want to keep this simple for whoever I'm sending it to, because I don't know their level of expertise on a computer, that type of thing. So that's Neil. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set kind of where this animation starts. So back here in prototype, okay, click on where you want this thing to go. Okay, if you've got 2, like I just did, you got to turn 1 off and just have 1 on. You can have multiple flows. Nah, it's too much for where we are now, but we're just going to have 1 flow, okay, at least on one of these pages. This is where it's going to start. So I can go to share. I'm going to choose flow 1. And the most common one is design review. Okay, it's going to allow for commenting, which is the big thing. Okay, and it's up to you and how secure you need to be, whether it's going to be password protected. Okay, you just give it a password, or people that you've emailed, still not password protected. Not anybody with a link can access it. I want that anybody with a link to access. Okay, and all you do is click create link. Kind of thinks about it for a second and you should get a little URL. All right, and that's the thing you want to share. You can send it to Behance, you can embed it on a website if you like. We're just going to send a link. Okay, so we're going to copy the link, okay, and I'm going to open it up and pretend to be Neil. You wait there, I'm going to put my Neil hat on. All right, I'm Neil, and I've got the link in an email or DM or something. You've sent it to him, okay, and I open it up. All right, and this is what Neil sees. The nice thing about it is that Neil doesn't have to log in, which is probably one of the really big perks here of, you know, it falls down a bit when people have got to sign up for an Adobe ID just to review your work. This one here, they can do everything as a guest, so they can start interacting with it. So I'm Neil going through and we're going like, oh yeah, that seems good. Okay, let's go back. I don't have any of my links sorted out. Okay, bad. I don't have my links working, which is bad. I should fix those for Neil. Okay, but there is some basic navigation. Well, you might have to educate your client a little bit about how this works. Okay, homepage, cycling through it, they can use the arrow keys. And where it gets nice is that, let's say that they do decide that this is, let's go to Lumo. This bounce, they're like, man, they want to add a comment. So they can add two kinds of comments, just generic one. Okay, hit submit, and they can decide whether they're going to sign in with their Adobe ID to kind of be a bit more official. Okay, it's free to sign up for an Adobe ID. You don't have to have a Creative Cloud license, a paid one. Okay, you can use just a free ID, or they can do this. So Neil, is that Neil? We'll do that for Neil. Okay, and the cool thing about it is that, yeah, Neil gets to kind of interact, add comments without going down the rabbit hole of signing up and passwords and that sort of stuff. So that's really cool. So you can do kind of a generic one for this particular page, but also you can do a more specific one. See this page, place a pin? This is where the education might have to be with the client, explain that you can do pins and generic comments. So the pin here, you can decide on this one here. Okay, and they're going to say something like, this isn't our logo, is it? Okay, and submit. Now, so that's a bit more specific with the pin. It's actually pointing at something, whereas this one's just a bit more all over the place, like generic feedback. So how do you access it on your side as a designer? So no longer Neil, goodbye Neil. I'm going to be Dan the designer. Not at the moment, okay? They keep talking about it, but they're going to potentially bring in the comments inside of the app, which would be like, why isn't that there? It just isn't at the moment. Okay, so what you do as a designer is you'll get an email explaining that somebody's added a comment to your link. Okay, so you get an email notifying it, or you can just go to the web-based version. So even though this link here is for Neil, you can actually just use it for yourself. So I'm going to copy the link. There you go. I am the same link as Neil, but because I'm logged in with my Adobe ID, I get to do a few extra things. Okay, I get to see Neil's guest comments, which is cool. Let's have a look. Oh, yeah, this isn't our logo. If I click on it, you see it took me to the page and it has like the little pin there and kind of lines up. More than one pin, you'll have different numbers. Cool, and I can go back and say no. Okay, and submit it, and that will add to this kind of story here. Now Neil can go back as a guest and keep adding comments as well and check on it as well. Or I might decide that I've done it all and I'm going to actually go into here and say I'm going to resolve this one so it's gone off that list. Gone, it's done, I've checked it off my list. So that's how you do commenting. Okay, you can decide to do it as a guest or get the person to log in, a little bit more extra details for them because they'll get notified when there's been an update or a reply for you. Let's say that I do though decide that what's up with this bouncing? Okay, I'm going to go fix that. So back to being Dan the designer, I'm going to go into here and it's this page here. So I'm going to go back to prototype. This page here has, which is this button here, isn't it? Zoom in. It's this button here. So it has push left bounce. So we're just going to do an ease out. Cool. And we're going to save it. How do we update it? It doesn't update automatically. Okay. You got to kind of tell it to update. So you go to share and you go to this one. Can you see update link? All it does is kind of looks at your document and updates anything. The link is still the same. You don't have to send out a new one. Okay. And you can say, hey, Neil, check out that link again, or send it to them again and say, hey, check it out. What do you think of this? All right. I'm back being Neil and I've gone to the link again. Okay, I can still see my comment because Dan the designer hasn't replied to it, but let's have a little look. Back to the home page, let's click on this and more of a better ease. What do we think of that? I say, good job, Dan. All right, so that is commenting, or the basics of commenting in Adobe XD. The only thing to keep an eye out is that they may, at some stage, bring it into the app. I really want them to. They don't at the moment, though. Okay, I'm inside Adobe XD rather than a browser. I want to be able to see them down here. Come on, guys. But until that, just use that web link to see the comments. You'll get notified via email when they do get posted there, though. All right, that is sharing your wireframes with Neil. Goodbye, you. Goodbye, Neil. And goodbye, me. I will see you in the next video. All right, you made it to the end. Well done. It's a long video and a lot of content to consume. I hope you enjoyed it and you're feeling a little bit more like, you're feeling closer to being a UX designer. If you are, and you enjoyed the video, give the video a like. Subscribe to the channel as well. And if you do want to go further from here, you're like, yes, give me the rest. There'll be a card up here you can click or a link in the description. Okay, so you've done a quarter of the course. There is another 3/4 to go. So yeah, that is it. Let me know in the comments if you did make it. Let me know that you made it and what country you're from. I'm interested to see who actually makes it to the ends of these really long videos I put on YouTube. Well done you though. Well done for doing it, and I'll see you around.